let's see, starting. It should have been started already. So we'll assume it's not lying. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so I will do this, popping the chat thing out so I can see it later when I need to. Hopefully it'll work. Sometimes, not so much. Alright, and I just have to find that. So, just logistics. It's always some little bullshit you have to do. And such. That should work, and then that should work. Yeah, look at that, it worked. Amazing. Alright, so that should be good enough. Alright. So, there are some comments on this kind of, bullshit video of mindless marbles. So, it's not a regular pendulum he's showing. It's something, it's not a regular lever. Some sort of thing with a pendulum hanging down the middle. And that's supposed to be some honest way to detect the differences between having, one mass at these locations. So, anyway. I did measure this, and it doesn't come out exactly right, but that might be because the angle's a little bit off. Maybe his camera distorts a little. So, but yeah, my measurements come up with this not being exactly the distance, twice the distance to its center, but whatever. Hard to say for sure. Alright, so this is a 2 day ago comment. And then we'll do the other one. Alright, hey marbles. I hope you don't mind me posting here for Gary to read, as despite his constant protestation, nobody will explain. Yeah, you don't explain. You make accusations that are completely false. They're, they're lies. And I won't be lied about. It's not my job to waste my time explaining to you why what you said is inaccurate. And you can't premise a single thing you say in any accurate manner, just like you just did here. I am banned. Whatever. Yeah, you're blocked because your comments are nothing but innuendo and accusation that I somehow have to defend myself. And you never answer any of the questions I directly ask. Do you believe in conservation of momentum? It's kind of a yes or no question. Do you believe Professor Lewin is correct? You can finagle kinetic energy, but nature can't finagle momentum. What do you think that means? Okay, from his videos for trying to do so. That's not what you were trying to do. I believe you are correct. A lever pivoted on a good bearing will not oscillate. So this is so stupid and ignorant. You're just like, what the fuck? Are you retarded? A balance won't balance? Well, then I guess they shouldn't be using for balances then if they don't balance. So he's actually arguing that if I, balance, this is really kind of hard to balance. Okay, it balances pretty easily. And he's saying that if I oscillate it, it won't oscillate. That it'll only go tip over, it will not oscillate. Now you can almost see that it's oscillating already, right? But it's just the longer I make it, obviously the easier it is to oscillate. People walk on tightropes because it's easy to make it oscillate. It doesn't swing all the way around. So, this guy is going to tell everybody else what they have to believe, and he can't even get something that simple right. I believe you are correct. A lever pivoted on a good bearing will not oscillate. So anyway, in spite of the fact that I showed one oscillating on my own porch, he says I should believe it doesn't. Even though I saw it myself, I put energy into it, I watched it oscillate, I'm supposed to believe otherwise. That's how arrogant these fuckers are. Weights at either end will produce oscillation only if their center of mass is below or above. What's it matter? And what do you mean their center of mass has to be above or below? Obviously when I did, the center of mass was definitely below the lever, but clearly in Mindless's case, he's got round masses on a solid rod. Clearly the mass is centered on the rod. So again, you're so stupid. The lever's horizontal center line, as was Gary's. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So again, let's just draw it for the sake of argument, right? What else can you do? You know, I guess I could make this bigger. Oh, good, a comment. Let's see if it's smarter than the crap I have to read. Let's see. The guy from NASA and CERN. Yeah, sorry, I mean, he's not from either one, but whatever. That offered to debate you is going to be on the next D. Hilster show. I frankly don't believe it, but fine, if he is, who's on D. Hilster's shows? If there is such a thing as a show. They're a bunch of whack jobs. So I'm not terribly impressed, frankly. Okay, the list of guests hasn't been stellar. So anyway, but yeah, there's nobody from NASA and CERN that can't make an argument. Okay, so you're saying that somebody from NASA and CERN wants to argue physics, and they have no content on their YouTube channel, no links to any theory, no website, no indication that they have any scientific knowledge at all. And you're supposed to tell me that they're really great debaters. They're the go-to guy. And he has no content of any kind, and he can't even make a comment. He can't even do what you did here, which is type more than 3 words. I'll debate you. That's all he's done so far. So I think, Jim, you're full of fucking shit. Okay. He was going to point out why they were wrong for their pulleth against the special theory of relativity. Well, I'm just saying, we'll see then, I guess, right? It'll be really fascinating, won't it? Do you think he's going to make a really great defense of the theory of relativity? I don't think he is, frankly, because I don't think he knows anything about it. But fine, it'll be funny to watch. Oh, fuck. You know, but the point is he didn't show any ability to do any of this. He didn't say, you know, here's my Skype. He didn't say, there was no indication he has any capacity to make any presentation on the internet. He typed 3 words as a comment 4 times, the same 3 words. That's all he has done. I don't know, like I said, I don't know why you think he's a NASA engineer, because he didn't indicate that to me. All right, well, whatever. Maybe you're worth blocking soon. Because, I don't know, just a distraction, frankly. It's such a meaningless pile of mush you're typing here. Wasted time, frankly. All right. So, yeah, so we'll do the point out what the Ian Gosling guy is saying. All right, well, maybe I'll move these things so I don't have to change this position later, so I will put this below that. No, I'll put it above those two. Alright, so what they're saying is if you have a lever and a fulcrum, either a bearing or a fulcrum, doesn't matter, and you put weights on it that are the same place, so I could have a 2 mass in that location, or I could put a 1 mass out here, but I'm just saying you put weights on it that are balanced. The lever is in balance, so let's just put a 2 here and a 2 here for the sake of argument. And it balances. So I could use money, I could make it this way, I can put a little thing on here, and I can put money on here, I can do all kinds of things to balance it. Once it's balanced, I can inject energy of any kind. I can just tilt it down and put a book over it here, okay, over the edge, and then let it go, and it will oscillate quite fine once it's balanced. Now, if it's not balanced, it won't oscillate just fine. So it just has to be balanced. So that's the whole key to that argument. So, of course, it works. I did it on my porch with a 4-to-1 relationship. That is, I had a 1 mass way out here and a 4 mass here. And this moved 4 times the distance that this moved, indicating 4 times the velocity in the same amount of time. And it worked fine. 4v, 1 mass. 4 mass, 1v. Perfect conservation of momentum. The equal sign worked perfectly fine. Yet he thinks I'm supposed to conclude from that experiment I did on my own porch, okay, that somehow momentum isn't conserved, okay, and that somehow, all right, this doesn't happen. The one mass did not move 4 times the distance, even though I saw it do it. It didn't really do it, because that would be twice the energy, and that wouldn't be possible. That'd be 4 times the energy, actually. 4 times the joules of energy. It's just a fact. So they just keep arguing something that's theoretically idiotic. If you believe in conservation of momentum, that is, you have to conserve the mass and velocity, the weight, frankly. And that whatever you do in an experiment, you have to have the same amount of total stuff, little m's and v's. You know, whatever you create, you have to. It has to equal. The sum has to be the same. The product of the multiplication has to be the same in both cases. Then you are automatically stuck with creating free energy every time you do a conversion between a big mass and a small velocity into something with a big velocity and a small mass. You're obligated to make free energy by the kinetic energy formula. Can't happen any other way. There's no other choice. So explain to me the other choice. There's no other choice. It can't come out any other way. And momentum is weight, essentially, right? So they're breaking all kinds of, physics facts here that they just don't give a shit about. All right, I should move this, and then I can see these comments. Look at that, more of them. Amazing. Cucks Anonymous. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be interesting. Yeah, okay. Remember when a blithering genius wanted to debate you on Skype? That didn't happen. Oh, so what the hell? Blithering genius? I debated him once, and that was more than enough. And you made up some lame excuse why you couldn't. That's a lie. I've never declined a debate, so that's just a lie. All right. Yeah, you really want to hear the counter arguments. So again, he can't make an argument. So you're not making any arguments. You're not linking to anything. You're not arguing anything. You're just making accusations you can't back up with any evidence. Let's see. It's not going to oscillate unless there's gravity pulling on it. What gravity? Both sides have gravity pulling on them. When the lever's in this condition with the same weight on both sides, why does it go to balance, idiot? They both have gravity on them. Do you have an explanation, or do you think they don't go to balance? They just stay uneven. So I have 2 equal masses on the balance. I tilt the balance. What do you think is going to happen? It's just going to stay there? You're an idiot. A real big stupid fucking idiot. All right, it's just a fact. No, it isn't. No, you lie. Well, these aren't arguments. I'll post a video proving you turned the debate down. Well, again, I don't know what the argument was about the form of the debate, but I don't turn debates down with reasonable people. So he obviously was trolling by that point. So yeah, I'm not going to debate trolls. Okay, people who can't stay on the subject, people who dox me, yeah, I'm not going to debate them. I'm going to give them the fucking finger, and someday I'm going to sue them. Anyway, did you check out the presentation? What does this even mean? Did you check out the presentation? What presentation are you talking about, fuckhead? All right, no, the center of mass changes position, genius. So again, that's not making an argument. They're moving, they're changing positions all the time when they're oscillating, and then they stop oscillating and perfectly balance. That's how it works. It's not really debatable shit. I did it on my own porch. I videotaped it. It's a fact. All right. It is all lies. Well, fuck this. So you're just about done there, Cook. All right. I can ask Doctor. He's calling him Dr. Castro. If he'll debate you still. Well, let me see him debate the other clowns. That'll be quite hilarious. I want to see who Dr. Castro is, okay? Some lunatic who posts on my video saying he has a counter argument, and then he has to ask me what the subject is. For 2 years I've been ranting about the kinetic energy formula, and he has to ask what are the subjects. You really think he's prepared for a debate when he doesn't know what the subjects are? Yeah, I don't think so, fucker. This one. What is this one? Is lying to you, viewer. Okay, well, you're done. All right. Yeah, you're done. Okay, yeah, you have to do it over here. Wasted time you was. Yeah, fuck off. Alright. I don't know why they... Yeah, I realized that. I just blocked him. I don't need you to tell me you just blocked somebody when I just blocked them. Amazing. Sup. Yeah. Bro, dude. Bro, dude. Bro. Up, dude. Fuck. I just hate this planet. It's a planet of valley girls. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to block you now too then, Jim. Are you saying anything? Yeah, we just saw the conversation he was making. There was no conversation. And then he finishes by just making overt lies. So what exactly are we missing? What am I missing from you? What's your contribution here so far? What's your counter argument? He made overt statements saying things don't happen that do happen, okay? I mean, there's undeniable fact that levers do oscillate. Anyone who says they don't might as well just be a flat earther. They're so fucking stupid. Okay, even Brozo doesn't believe levers don't oscillate. The website I posted. What website have you posted? What are you even talking about? The website I posted. What website? There's no website. Well, I don't think your atomic model works. I don't care what you think. Why do you think I care what you think? I don't think you understand the model. All right, and the simulation's already, I mean, you know, it's gonna, you know, just be such a proof that with these simple little, tiny little rules, it's going to make, you know, Wolfram's bullshit look so silly in the sense that it's going to be, you know, modeling atoms right before your eyes with barely any functions. And then you're going to tell me you don't think it works. Yeah, fuck you. I don't think entanglement works. I don't think you're ever going to have a quantum computer, fuckhead. Or a singularity, or any of the other bullshit you believe in. But it's really not the subject, right? The subjects are, do you understand that the two-slit experiment, the way they've described it, is a lie? That, frankly, it has to be, you have to conclude it's about the number of surfaces. Surface math works, okay? Opening math doesn't. The double slit is not created by two waves interfering. It's created by four sources interfering. Do you deny that fact? It ignores deep. What does deep mean? Deep inelastic scattering? What are you talking about, deep? Is there such a thing as deep or shallow scattering? Are you fucking retarded? Fart sniffer. Well, that's... I think I'll just block him right off, right? We just don't need to bother. I won't even bother reading it. You know, if you can't even try to play along with a screen name of some kind of... You know, there's just no point. I mean, at least make it an anagram or something, you know. It's just so go ahead. But it's just the fact that you know, YouTube lets these assholes make these fake accounts and post comments. Just, you know, no point. Above 50 MeV. Oh, the special MeV. Center of mass. Whatever. How, again, it's a useless statement for you to tell me, okay, that somehow my theory says you can't have is scattering. Of course you can. And the force bits are moving the speed of light, so I guess they're the only thing you're going to scatter. So what are you talking about exactly? What has your 50 MeV mass that's doing the scattering? You're talking about scattering electrons? I mean, what are you talking about? So, I mean, you really can't get anywhere close to the subject. proton, proton, and nucleus, nucleus. So I don't even know what that could possibly mean to somebody. Nucleuses scattering nucleuses? What are you talking about? And again, how do you have any evidence that my theory doesn't provide for scattering, deep or otherwise? All right, no point. So back to the other retards for a little while. Let's see, above these energies, a proton collision, you generate jets, which wouldn't be explained by your model. So again, you say so. The model creates jets, okay, inside of atoms. But a single proton doesn't create anything called a jet. It has to be an arrangement with other pieces for there to be a collection of energy in any kind of directionality. So it's like any other point that you, if you're going to funnel energy into one direction, you're going to take energy that has lots of directions and turn it into energy in one direction. You need a mechanism to do that, and a proton can't do it all by itself. Okay, so you're fucked in the head. All right, let's see. Nucleus collisions. You have whatever this is, thermalization and other hot nuclear effects. So this is all their made up physics, okay? And so again, I only have to account for things you actually have evidence for, not stories you want to tell me about their nucleus collisions, which are what kind of nucleuses? Helium nucleuses? What kind of nucleuses are doing these collisions? And again, why wouldn't my theory say, yes, you crash a nucleus into a nucleus, it's going to make a mess? You know, there's nothing in my theory that says that doesn't happen. Shit for brain. All right. So back to the shitty comments. I just have to figure out which one I want. Okay, do this. That should fix it. Alright, so back to where I was, which I'm not sure where I was. Alright, weights at either end will produce oscillation only if their center of mass is above. No, that's just bullshit. Also, you're correct. The suspension string will produce a torque upon the lever at each extremity of movement. Oh, so I don't even know what that is. The suspension string will create a torque? No, it doesn't. It's pretty close to a perfect fulcrum. So that's just your say-so. You'll have no evidence for that whatsoever. Why do they have scales balanced on? They actually do this thing where they balance the scale on as small a fulcrum as possible. They dangle it from a chain. They dangle it from something. Why do you think they do that? It's because it works better, shithead. Alright. He also asked me to refute why the Mythbusters didn't destroy the KE argument. No, all I want you to do is explain why the cars and the clay both don't demonstrate mv squared, 1/2 mv squared. Both of them demonstrate the exact opposite. The momentum is perfectly conserved. All right, my answer is the fact that it proves it correct. I don't see how, but okay, fine. I don't see how that's possible. There's no evidence of it being 4 times the energy. There's only evidence of being twice the energy. So he thinks that there's 4 times the energy and twice the compression. So I compress a spring twice as much, he says, even though I only need twice the weight to do it. So just understand, if I want to compress a spring twice the much, I put weight on a spring, it compresses this much. If I double the weight, okay, just double it, it compresses twice as much. So how could that have 4 times as much energy? It's impossible. Can't possibly, but it's only double the weight. If I drop it from 4 times the height, it will only be twice as much weight. Exactly the amount needed to compress the spring twice as much. It clearly can only be twice as much energy, because it doesn't take 4 times more energy to lift something twice as heavy. If I lift one 50-pound object up a height, are you arguing that if I had two 50-pound things, it was 4 times the energy to lift it to the same height? Even though it's only twice the weight, it takes 4 times the energy? You haven't paid any attention to these arguments, frankly. And this is just more of your non-responsive lying. Okay. Of course, he denies this fundamental fact of nature. So it's not a fundamental fact. It's exactly the opposite from what Professor Lewin states. So what's your evidence that this is, a fundamental fact of nature that I have to believe, or I get insulted by you fucking little piece of shit? Yeah, you shit talker. All right. So Mindless says, thank you for sticking up and pointing out the basics of lever that Gary has missed. So he hasn't shown anything here but a fixed rigged experiment. So instead of doing a plain lever experiment, he did this bullshit, right? The lever's this way, and and you have the 2 arms of the lever, like this. And he sticks this stupid pendulum on the bottom with a weight on it to fuck up where the masses are. So you don't need that, right? It oscillates fine without it. So he says when he sticks his fake extra mass on, that they don't oscillate at the same speed. Well, of course they don't, because you're not really comparing those 2 masses. You're comparing this third mass thrown in. So he just overtly cheats the experiment, and then takes credit for this dishonesty. I honestly have to say I am just really disheartened. Listen to this, and beaten down. You're a liar, a pathetic one, okay, trying to resurrect something that's obviously wrong and incorrect, and you're doing it by cheating. You can't even be fair to a simple lever, a teeter-totter, a scale, a balance, and you can't fairly demonstrate one. You have to cheat. I mean, fuck. And you're lamenting? Yeah. I can't believe he just took Stephen Bro's video and twisted it and mangled it to such a degree. So let's do it again. Okay, he said it right there, that somehow I cheated Brozo's experiment. I mean, it's just such a lie. All I did was point out exactly what the experiment showed. And the experiment, what it showed was perfectly exactly what momentum would demand happens. And this liar has to say I somehow cheated it. Yeah, no. It's pathetic. All right. I really have to get used to this. Okay. So really simple, and it's not a bad experiment. I probably will do one similar someday. But I mean, this really should just be a theoretical argument that everybody can agree this has to work these ways. I mean, there's no alternative theory that makes any sense at all. Alright, so the lever's got a spring on one side, and he's going to put weights on the other side. So you have a fulcrum, and then you're going to have weights at a position. And the simple argument is if you put a half mass twice the distance, that's the same thing as a 2 mass here. Okay. So 1 mass twice the distance, same as 2 mass at half the distance. And that would balance factually with a 2 mass here. If I have a 2 mass here and a 2 mass here, it balances. If I have a 2 mass here and a 1 mass out here, it balances. Those are the basic rules. And that basically just comes down to the fact that the lever moves a certain distance here. That'll be twice the amount of distance it'll move here in the same amount of time. Obviously, 1 velocity here, obviously 2 velocity here. Okay, and so Brozo did the experiment, right? You compress the spring, move this, lever, okay, a little the same distance, so the same spring compression. The 2 mass, you got the number of 19 seconds or frames, and for the 1 mass, you got the number 11. Very close to 2 to 1. If it was supposed to be their kinetic energy was conserved instead of momentum being conserved, then this number should have been 15. Alright, it wasn't, obviously. Okay, so, the experiment, I mean, this is the Brozosian error. You would just say with the 11 and 19, it really should just be 10 and 20, but whatever. But I mean, that's the experiment. It just clearly demonstrates that the kinetic energy theory doesn't work. The same spring gave this almost, okay, a little short of twice the energy. Twice the kinetic energy here that you had here. And you don't have any, there's no way you're going to explain where half the energy disappeared, why half the energy didn't show up in the experiment. Yeah, you don't really have any hope of doing that. But yeah, that's your obligation. So they're surprised that I'm telling them they have an obligation to explain that experiment. Okay. It's leaving me just hopelessly depressed. I don't know. I'm so glad. I don't know what to do. Good. Why are people this malignant and dishonest? Well, clearly your experiment was the dishonest one. Okay? I mean, clearly we're talking about levers all the time. Why did you put a pendulum hanging from the lever? Why did you put extra weight into the experiment and say you're doing the same experiment? I mean, you're obviously the one cheating. I mean, obviously, the dishonest one. Anyways, I need to correct you on something. I need to stand up for the truth and uncertainty, whether possible here. The truth and uncertainty, whenever possible here. The truth and uncertainty? What does that even mean? If we liken the clay cylinder to a spring, we would expect twice the compression distance to require 4 times the energy. Why would we expect that? See, that's the funny part. So they actually do. So in spite of, what's it called, the Hooke's law regarding springs, they think it's 4 times the energy to compress the spring, twice as much. So even though it's only twice the weight, compresses the spring twice as much. I put twice as much weight on, it compresses twice as much. They're saying twice the weight equals 4 times the energy. Even though I can lift twice the weight to the same location without any trouble at all. How could it possibly be 4 times the energy? Well, obviously it can't possibly be. If we liken the clay cylinder to a spring, okay, you did that. I understand what you were talking about, and you are correct about springs. So he's saying that springs, when they're compressed twice as much, that's 4 times the energy, and therefore it can move 4 times the weight, even though it can't. And only twice the weight compresses it to that amount. It's impossible to be right. So anyway, I'm skeptical that the clay is anything like this. Well, it's pretty damn close. We don't have access to the experiment other than the limited Mythbusters clip that was recently taken down. Oh, that's interesting. I guess the copyright thing. But I suspect that the cylindrical clay is like neither what Gary says nor is it what you say. Yeah, it's some special thing in between. Isn't that special? Whatever. I don't have access to the clip anymore, but my inspection, the fact that clay was pressed twice as much isn't even true. These are the measurements I obtained previously. So it is true, okay, that the clay as a chunk, when he puts it with a weight on it, it measured 2.6. But that's because it has this fucking weight on top of it. Okay, so it probably, I mean, realistically, do we think he started with a clay chunk that was 2.6? I mean, I would think he made all the clay things consistently 3 inches. It wasn't centimeters either, it was inches. So, you don't have these numbers quite right. so whatever. But clearly the compression amount, it's like saying, like, people could have, a lot of plastic parts in their car in the front, right? So if you're going to smash 2 cars into each other, you would expect that the energy to crush all that little plastic shit is nothing. And you're really talking about the energy to really compress the substance of the car, the parts that has real substance. And you could argue the same might be true for clay. It has some elasticity, some rubberiness, all right? And so with the weight on it, yeah, it yields a little bit, okay? But actually pushing the clay out is going to require real energy. But regardless, I mean, the numbers couldn't have been, 2 to 1. I mean, they're as close as you can get to 2 to 1. And nowhere close to what kinetic energy says the results should have been. which is you should have had 4 times the compression. So anyway, the ratio of the second one to the first one is 1.8. 1.1 equals 1.6. If you round numbers generously, you get about 1.7 at best. That doesn't seem anything like a clean 2-to-1 relationship. Yeah, I'm just saying we don't know what the original clay was without the weight on it. So it's not like the first measurement is a clean measurement, because there is a weight on it. Okay, we don't know what that solid. I think it's a solid piece of steel, actually, so it could weigh a good 10 pounds. So yeah, it starts with 10 pounds already placed on it. Anyway, the claim that it conclusively supports Gary is simply outright false for trivial reasons. No, it's trivial to have an argument about how in some way it supports the kinetic energy theory, when the results are in every way, in every respect, counter to that theory. And so Brozo, YouTube deleted my long comment, which was intended to be encouraging. Big Brother is alive and well. Yeah, I think it's probably pilot error. yeah, what do you think? Yeah, I think pilot error. Alright, so this we did already. Let's see. Sorry for the late reply. I appreciate you replied this video to draft. No worries. Hey, I assume you've seen his responses. I have. Do you have any clue why Gary keeps referencing Stephen Bro's I did this trebuchet experiment. I keep referencing it because he also did the same bullshit where he takes an unbalanced lever and says, look, it doesn't behave like a balanced lever. Yeah, duh. Because it's not a lever anymore. If there's no weight on one side of the fulcrum, it's not a lever. Okay. Why does Gary insist this is a problem for me? Well, I insist that it's a problem for any of you defenders of kinetic energy, because it's just another example of why your theory doesn't work. Alright. Let's see. To me it was good evidence to Gary that rational inertia would explain his paradox confusion. No, so I don't know if I've already read this. In his Today Live, he has conceded he doesn't understand why your lever lost energy, but puts it down to a fault with your experiment. Well, as I stated right off the bat, what the hell was that third bar hanging there for? And the surprise is that it's actually weighted. Okay, now I thought it was just superfluous maybe, and so I said, okay, maybe it doesn't matter. But no, it's weighted. It's clearly now an unbalanced lever. It always has more weight on one side than it has on the other side. Clearly, you can't avoid it. He's taken it and forced a balanced lever to be unbalanced. You can't get that? Okay, he asked why the pendulum is there, but I guess it's needed for oscillation. Yes, I did read this. And this is just stupid to say it's there for oscillation. You don't need it for a lever to oscillate. So again, they keep arguing that scales don't oscillate. When hasn't everybody seen a standard scale oscillate? Even bathroom scales oscillate. Alright, he asked why the pendulum is there. Okay. Yes, without any weight above or below, the lever will simply rotate in a circle, which is just an insanely silly comment. It won't happen. That's not how a balanced lever works. It's just not true. Lever balances have a small portion of weight below the fulcrum just for this purpose. So that's just a lie. There's no such thing on scales. Scales don't have to use anything like that. So that's just nonsense. You can also achieve oscillation if you tie a rod, as the Spares Lab and Gary have done. In that case, I believe the knot of the rope will provide force whenever the rod rotates too far. No, so I already read this. That's not true. So there's no knot. There's nothing applying any counter force. This is all made up shit. Alright, I think he believes a balanced lever will oscillate if given a disturbance. The point is I have good reason to believe it because I've done it. Okay, so it's exactly what it does. Any amount of energy you put in, it'll oscillate. The more energy you put in, the more it oscillates. Not complicated at all. He also believes that the spring will deliver double velocity to the one mass double distance. I'm just, that's not very well pointed out. I believe a spring, okay, delivers a certain amount of momentum. So if you put a lighter object in front of the spring after you've compressed it a certain distance, it will produce the commensurate amount of extra velocity. So if you put half the mass in front of the spring, you'll get twice the velocity. And that's exactly what Professor Lewin stated overtly. So again, you're not disagreeing with me. You're disagreeing with Professor Lewin, but you're too cowardly to say you think he's a bad physicist. Alright, we'll deliver double the velocity to one mass double distance. He continually asserts this must be a fact. I showed you Brozo's video. It's in Brozo's channel. I showed the clip of the video. I've drawn the picture of it, and you're still asserting it's not true? Okay, as I said, he is a bit thick. No, apparently you're really thick. Foul-mouthed little fucking piece of shit. Alright. So Falwell says, well, we'll check the regular pile of shit comments and see what's there, see what's in the chat. So Falwell is where I left off, okay. People are just such pieces of shit. Alright, so let's see. Oh, so somebody stole Brian Cox's name. Alright, so I'm just going to delete all of those. Hide user. Yep. So, let's see. Did you do a dissertation? Mine was on analyzing data from the LHC. I don't believe you are a real person. Okay, looking at jet data from Atlas for Potron distribution functions. So who believes this guy actually has a job in physics? Yeah, it's obviously a no channel again. So he has a troll channel, and yet he claims, I've been following this channel for very long and don't really know where to start. So he doesn't know where to start, and there's so many fucking arguments I've made. So you think if I shove a 2-liter bottle, I'm in a spaceship, and I shove a 2-liter bottle out one side of the ship at 1 mile an hour, and then I throw a dime out the other side of the ship at 1,000 miles an hour, you think I go 2,000 times this direction, right? I've just put 2,000 joules into space in one direction. I've only put 2 in the other direction. So I obviously turn almost like a 90-degree angle. Is that your theory, fuckhead? Is that your LHC kind of physics? Yeah. Let's see. What does he say the gravitational potential energy should be? What does even that mean? Yeah, what does that even mean? In what circumstance? Let's see. If he's using MGH, well, why would I? I've already pointed out it's MGT. MGH is obviously nonsense. For potential energy, that sure doesn't have units of momentum. Yeah, because it's an inaccurate statement, okay? It's clearly nothing to do with the height. You don't get 4 times the energy by going 4 times higher unless you take 4 times the time to fall. So if you want to take 4 times the time to fall in gravity, well, then you can get 4 times the energy, but you're not going to get it, okay, if you do the traditional thing of falling, free falling, because you'll only be in the gravity twice as long. Still waiting for answer from Gary on turbulence and fluids. Okay, so I guess we'll just delete you because that's... What are you talking about? Classical mechanics has unsolved problems. What the hell does that even mean? I can't make any sense out of that. Classical physics has a lot of missing gaps and more nonsense. Like where? Yours is the one with all the gaps. Where's your evidence? You don't have a single shred of evidence. You don't have a single piece of proof of showing it takes 4 times more fuel to go twice as fast. You haven't done it with a motorcycle. You haven't done it with a tricycle. You haven't done it with an automobile. You haven't done it with a single object on this fucking planet where you've proved it takes 4 times more fuel to go twice as fast. Not one. Good point. You would watch your garbage if they knew anything about actual physics. Who would watch your garbage if they knew anything about physics? That's not the point. I would. If I was somebody who really cared about the truth and there was some guy saying something I didn't think was true, I wouldn't feel bad about fighting that at all. There's people like Simon Dan, they're making a whole money-making career out of doing exactly that. You know, defending the faith against the evildoers, talking the evil shit. Why are they afraid to do it to me? Yeah, that's right. They're afraid. That's what the answer is. Dude, you are rejecting classical physics. So defending momentum is rejecting classical physics. Amazing. Okay, like how do you refuse to debate BG? Who's BG again? I mean, who the fuck? Who are these people? Who the fuck is BG? Oh, amazing. If you want to do things in classical mechanics, it's better to use so this is your whole thing, right? Some mathematical trick. Why would I bother with it? It's a relativity nonsense. It doesn't have anything to do with reality. So again, you're saying Newton is wrong. You have no physical evidence proving him wrong. Galileo, Newton, Descartes all believed in momentum and they got right answers. So where was Newton's wrong answers? Where did Newton get so wrong an answer? Besides maybe thinking that light went faster inside of matter. What other thing did Newton get wrong? Okay, you can't solve most classical systems using Newtonian mechanics. I don't even know what you're saying. Where's your evidence of that? Show me. Show me one fucking piece of experimental evidence. Let's see. Goder or Newton on light scattering in prisms. So I don't know why this is at that. You know, is this a link of some kind? What the hell is this? I don't even know what that's there for. This orange blob. Yeah. Anyway. So I just point out what the fuck you're saying. That somehow I'm disagreeing. I mean, light scattering is what I'm arguing the double slit experiment is made out of. I'm all for light scattering. I'm a big fan of scatter as an explanation. So why do you think a scattering experiment proves me wrong somewhere? And so, yes, what about my theory says gravity has to be even? I'm not the one that argues that gravity is even. It's always about the density of the mass. So again, more nonsense. Where in my theory does it say that somehow the object has universal gravity and it doesn't matter where the mass is, whether it's made out of lead or whether it's made out of feathers? No, my whole argument is it matters whether it's made out of lead or it's made out of feathers. All right, well, I don't know where these people make this shit up. You just say, like, what is this? Well, anyway, that's because most diffy Qs don't have analytic solutions. I don't even know what differential Qs. I don't know what Qs are. But that's not physics. Faith, that's the nature of math. Well, again, I'm really not interested in the nature of math, so it's not, I didn't call the channel draft nature of math, but whatever. Oh, Jesus. But you can get arbitrary closed solutions. Again, solutions to what and in what way do I have to account for whatever your solution is? Using numerical analysis and the computers, it's kind of moot. What's moot? And the stuff classical mechanics doesn't solve. So again, show me. What do you mean? You mean Newton was 0.0000006 trillimeters short on something? What's your argument? How did he get anything fundamentally wrong is the point I'm arguing. You're not describing how he got anything fundamentally wrong. You're arguing about some relativity mathematical crap that doesn't have anything to do with any real thing you can measure. They're all out of the scope of our capacity to measure. So this guy with the light scattering still. Light scattering and color creation is what I'm asking. And again, what do I have to account for? Who do you stand with? Gödel or Newton? I'm saying that I don't have to stand with either one. Newton didn't know what a photon was, and I don't think the other guy did either. So I'm saying, I've already explained what I'm saying a photon is. Now you showed me an experiment where I can't, my theory fails to explain the phenomenon. But there's no point in saying I have to choose between two people who are completely ignorant of what a photon is. You can only watch what it does. They really can't understand what it's made of. I mean, it works at certain scales. At really small scales, you need QM. At high speed, you need GR. Well, you say you need it, but you don't have any proof that you need it because you don't even have proof that these answers are, in fact, correct. You can never test them against reality, so it means nothing. Someone can argue just as easily that the precession of Mercury is caused by the precession of the Sun, that the Sun is actually precessing, its center of mass is precessing, and that's the little boost that's causing Mercury's precession. And it wouldn't be felt by the Earth, and it wouldn't be felt by Venus, and it wouldn't be felt by any other planet because they're all too far away. Venus is Mercury is extremely close to the Sun by comparison to the rest of the planet. So it's like Mercury's all by itself, and then there's nothing for a while, and then Venus. All right. You don't know what you're talking about then. Okay, fine. You're not making any arguments or on the subjects of any of the videos I've made, so frankly, what good are you? Where have you demonstrated that mv squared, 1/2 mv squared, invented by the religious kook Leibniz, is in fact reality? Where do you have any evidence of that? What argument did Leibniz use that was actually sensible and reasonable? And what argument did the Newtonians, when they argued against it, where did they make a mistake when they said your energy theory creates free energy? It fails the lever test. So how were they wrong when they said it fails the lever test? All right. Classical mechanics doesn't explain radioactivity. They didn't have an atomic theory. How can you call it classical mechanics doesn't explain? I mean, it's just such a lie. They have no classical mechanics for the storage of a battery, for fuck's sake. Okay, they didn't know what charges and electricity and all this stuff was made out of, but I'm sure if Newton was alive today, he'd give you a perfectly reasonable explanation. Oh, well, the energy stored in the proximity of the electrons and the protons. They are pressure. They're being pushed together, and they have an elastic pressure. Okay. It also doesn't explain nuclear collisions, whatever nuclear collisions are. Okay, that's just too vague a pile of mush. What's the first 4 digits of the square root of 2? 1, 4, blah, blah, who cares? Why should I care? You think these little number tricks mean something. I'm the one arguing they don't mean shit. Okay. But you reject evidence. What evidence? So you don't have any evidence. You can't link to it. If you could, you would. You don't, so it's obvious. You don't have any fucking evidence. You can't link to a single fucking piece of experimental evidence demonstrating it taking 4 times more energy to go twice as fast. Not a single piece of fucking evidence in 300 fucking years. You can't produce one fucking piece of evidence. Okay, also, this is going to be another lie, so I'll just delete you. I never refuse to debate Piro. That's a lie. I'll debate him any day. But yeah, our debate is basically going to be, how many kids did you kill today? All right, because we got nothing civil to say to each other. He's a lying, scummy, crappy human being, and all I'm going to do is inquire, how low will you go, liar? How pathetic a human being are you, you piece of shit? That's all he's going to get. So fuck you. I have never turned down a debate with a reasonable person. I'm not going to debate liars. So fuck you. Maxwell's theory. Okay, so Maxwell's ether theory somehow explains batteries. That's just a lie. Okay, batteries are explained by charge, right? And so Maxwell didn't invent charge. Okay, he wasn't the only person who ever fucking realized there was such a thing. I mean, Ohm, Ampere, the whole bunch of scientists knew what a fucking charge was, and charges are what invented batteries and the rest of that shit. So to sit there and say it has something to do with Maxwell is just a fucking lie. Okay, he didn't make any batteries. Fucking liar. Let's see, in nuclear collisions, when you collide two protons, it generates tens of hundreds of particles. Says you! What kind of particles? You silly fuck. If you bang anything going fast into anything, okay, it's going to generate broken pieces. But a proton banging into a proton, you can sort of understand that the only thing it can release is energy. So it has to have raw energy that it's captured. And that's perfectly consistent with my theory, asshole. I'm the one who has the theory that the force is actually in the object. When something's moving, it's showing you how much force it has in one direction over the other direction. It's showing you it has a disproportional amount of force in a direction. And that it's going to give that force back when it hits something. Just like if I drop it in gravity. The object doesn't have any force until it free falls in the gravity, collects the force, and then hits the ground and releases it. So fuck you. So all of this much, you're talking about hadrons now. What's the point? What does that have to do with my argument that there's no such thing as kinetic energy? The 1/2 mv squared. It's absolutely nonsense. What does it have to do with that argument? Because I'm going to make a simulation that'll probably show the spectra eventually. But I'm not doing spectral analysis. I'm not disagreeing, okay, with any of those light diffraction experiments that basically indicate how much energy a system has, okay, because you're changing the frequency of light. I have nothing against that. I'm the one arguing that every substance is vibrating in the universe and it's going to create an effect. So energy comes into me. If I'm vibrating at a faster a frequency, then I'm going to give it energy. More energy. I'm going to compress the field more. So a field hits me, it has a certain weight. If I push, then it's going to leave me with more weight. It's going to leave me with more momentum. Well, I don't care what you're talking about. Proton spectra, whatever the fuck that would be. Alright, so look, Martin Scorsese, I mean, that's really Farley. Just, if you're going to lie right off the bat, I'm just going to block you. So if you can't do better than that. I don't think matter is composed of light. It's just not true. I think there's two things, matter and force. Forces push matter. If a force didn't push a piece of matter, it's not going anywhere. But really, I'm going to just block him because, you know, this whole idea of just stealing somebody else's name is just so tacky. I mean, if you can't grow up, you know, and not realize it, you really don't have a right to be John Wayne or to be somebody with integrity because you don't have any integrity. You're just not allowed to mock people that have actual substance to their life by stealing their name. Okay, it's just really fucking rude. So maybe we'll go back to the shitwits, you know, in this comment section. Alright, so we left off at this Falwell moron. I think the reason he has disassociated, I don't know what this is, himself from the experiment he in fact suggested. So this is just more lies. Another once and for all settle the argument for good type experiment. So all I've done is suggest that yes, if we can do these experiments right, they should answer the question. You're the ones finding, defects in experiments, and desperately running from the outcome of those experiments, like the Mythbuster experiment. You're the one running from the fact that the cars doesn't show 4 times the compression. Alright, don't work the way he thought or claimed it does. So again, that's what's being revealed is you're just liars. Okay, it does work exactly the way I claimed. Now, did he do the experiment I claimed? Is putting a pendulum on the lever fair to a lever? Is that a fair way to balance a lever? No, I don't think so. That's a fair way to imbalance one. You want to imbalance a lever? That's what you do. You put a third arm with another weight on it. Yeah, that's not how you make a balance. Alright. Best thing to do is try to weasel his way out by making yet more false claims. So again, you're the one defending the cheats and the fakery. So, a brozo comment. Let's see. It demonstrates for the umpteenth time that he's either unwilling or unable to make basic observations. Well, I can make a basic observation that there's a pendulum attached to a lever, and that doesn't mean that's not a good test of a lever, is to glue a pendulum to it. About the real world results of his own experimental proposals. And the experiments I've done, not just proposed. So he is failing to learn from them, whatever. I've just pointed to an experiment of yours and said, what did you learn from the experiment? Okay, you did the experiment, you came up with the results, 19 and 11. You made free energy, in fact. Okay, so you've successfully made a free energy device. What's your feeling about that? You broke the conservation of momentum. So anyway, of energy, sorry. So he's failing to learn from them, no matter how easy we try to make it for the imbecile. So again, there's no argument here. Nothing. Nothing connected to any fact. Either way, we are not dealing with a rational human being. More mush. I cannot even imagine how small Stephen Bro's penis is. Can't even do it. Is that relevant? No. I can't even imagine what it must feel like to be shown a banana and still feel compelled to say it's an apple. So he's making that comparison. So even though I watch a lever perfectly balance, and these morons say levers don't balance, I'm supposed to believe they don't balance because they said so, not because I actually watch it do it. You've done the experiment of having a lever go back and forth. You don't think it can do that? They say it can't do that. You understand? They're saying you can't tilt a lever and watch it oscillate back and forth. They're saying you can't do that. You're so fucking stupid. The only conclusion we can come to is that he's broken in some way. Yeah, that's really insightful. Won't even bother Falwell's last comment. No way it could be relevant. Alright. So we just get rid of that crap. Ugh, God, these people are so stupid. We'll do some more of this shit and then we'll get out of here. Finally, smoke. So you've been doing atomic modeling for a while and don't have any, what is this, qualitative describes this? Yeah. Well, I can show you that the simulation, like I said, is, it's getting very close to being ready for public consumption. So, and it's, it's going to be pretty decisive in showing how electrons and protons function. So I'll leave us put some more force in here. And let's put a couple more bits in. That's good enough. Well, 3. It's all it wanted to do was 3. Yeah, that part's not working. Come on, 4. Stick 4. No, won't stick. So we're stuck for 3. So they pair up quite well. Then if you put the more objects you put in, blah blah blah, blah, and it's not even finished yet. So the repulsive force isn't quite as strong as it should be yet. So that's why those two were able to get that close to each other. But the more bits you put in, the more it's going to look more and more, and you're just going to watch it form dipoles, proton-electron pairs, and that's what's going to end up in the nucleus. And then electrons are going to end up on the outside. It's just going to build basically atoms out of really, really simple rules. Insanely simple rules that convert charge into dipolar magnetism, and that in turn creates the arrangement differences that cause electricity. So it's all there, and it's all consistent exactly with Maxwell's drawings, Maxwell's understanding of what charge does. So all these things will behave exactly like Maxwell says they should behave. It'll all be perfectly consistent. Why is that not quite centered? Let's see if I can fix that. Well, I'm going to move it over here. See, eventually there's going to be a whole menu over here, and it's going to make new changes, blah, 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 and it'll all be very nice. But, it all takes time to get it right, get it all balanced, get the right field balance, get everything balanced, figure out the weights and the masses and all that shit. But it's really, again, the rules are just as simple as I've outlined them. 2 plus 2 plus 2 physics. 2 simple interactions will cause charge to be manifested. So fuck you. Really. You people, you. Lousy, bummy, freaking pieces of shit. Oh yeah, we're done with those comments. Yeah, so this is the the Wheeler delayed choice Gegunken experiment. Yeah, so I'm just doing all this, trying to research and find out why these morons think these experiments are unexplainable by any conventional physical rules. And of course I think they are, but you can't find out why they think what they think. My equations aren't 2 plus 2. So again, you just want to keep lying. There's no point. How do you explain the Michelson? I don't have to explain Michelson-Morley. I don't believe in an ether. Okay? Not detecting an ether does not prove there's no absolute space. The light clock can prove that. The fact that if 2 trains are moving past each other and one of them sticks out a 5-pound weight and the other one sticks out a 10-pound weight, and those 2 weights are allowed to hit each other, you can know which train is actually moving. Because if it's the one with the 10-pound weight, there's going to be twice as much energy in the collision than if it's the one with the 5-pound weight. And those 2 collisions will look different. The physics requires them to look different. So it's going to be a fact that it's not just an illusion, velocity. Velocity is real. Things really have velocities. Alright. It's almost similar, to the kinetic energy argument, that relativity argument, and the whole idea that you people really don't understand what momentum is. Let's see, what flavor? Fuck you, I don't do flavors. Let's see, claims to have lost his virginity at 29. So, that's really on the subject, isn't it? Okay, what flavor? Okay, I could almost block you for asking another stupid question. So why didn't it get rid of this guy? I just got rid of him. Unhide? No, I don't want to unhide him. Why didn't you remove him? Why has he still got comments on the board? Weird. All right, anyway. Let's see. Where are your equations? Please provide proof I form of equations. I can just use Newton's equations. I mean, what equation do you want? What do you want an equation for? Okay. I don't think E equals mc squared. So I would argue that no, energy equals how much space have you displaced. Because energy is in the space. The little bits are in the space, and the more space you occupy with matter, the more pressure there's going to be in the vessel. So the universe is a vessel. It's got a certain amount of space in it. If you fill the space with matter, the little force bits have to bounce in the less space, and so they're going to have more energy. So energy is by a Planck cubit of space. That would be my formula. I don't know exactly what the dimensions of that cube are. I don't really care. F equals mv. Exactly. That's one of the equations. Yes. But again, where do you show Newton saying it's F equals ma? Newton clearly said the momentum is all you're after. He said the force interacts as if it was just like an object with momentum. That's exactly what it equals the same amount. You want to move something twice as much, you give it twice as much force. So Newton clearly thought there was a clear equality between force and momentum. Clear equality. He says it right in his text. You want to go twice as fast, you've got to apply twice as much force. All right, just putting that out there. Well, again, you're putting nothing out there. It's a lie to say Newton said F equals ma, because he didn't. He said F equals change in your momentum over time. And the time would be you're putting the force in a rate number. But if you don't want to know the force in a rate number, if you just want to know the weight of the force, the foot-pounds, you don't bother with the T. So clearly Newton was saying F equals, frankly, P. Momentum. Just putting out there, how do you calculate the energy of any radioactive decay? Well, it depends on the decay. I mean, every single isotope decays in a different way, so you have to figure out how many particles are leaving from what part of the atom, and so yeah, do I have some standard calculation? I don't think physics knows any of these answers besides measuring them. These are just measured quantities. These aren't calculated quantities. All right. Why bother even asking? Well, that's useless. Didn't Newton specifically say, yeah, exactly. No, he didn't say change in time. He said time. So if you want it in seconds, it would be in seconds. You want it in minutes, it would be in minutes. And then your force would be in likewise the same units. So if you want to know the force as a rate, well, then you divide by time. But if you want to know the force as a total net force, if you want to know the net force, you don't bother with the time. Turn on live chat instead of top chat. Well, whatever. I don't know why they change this every time. It's quite irritating. Let's see. Well, frankly, there's a lot here that's worth censoring. You fuckheads don't really say anything in any kind of reasonable manner. Some basic decay like pion. Well, again, so you believe in all this bullshit. That's your business. I don't think there's anything other than electrons and protons, and everything else is just electrons and protons. Like two electrons together might be a muon. You can have different configurations of these particles moving, but frankly, without the particles, without the electron and proton, there's no quarks, and all this other crap is just bullshit. So you can believe it if you wish. I'm just saying there's no real evidence of any of it. And 90% of it's created out of E equals mc squared. They calculate the weight of an electron based on E equals mc squared. You do understand that, right? So they have found out, they say the electric charge creates a certain velocity, and so now they're going to calculate the mass of the electron based on the velocity they made up, not a velocity they experimentally tested. So they're not measuring the velocity, they're just assuming the velocity. And then they're saying that the velocity is a squared function. Therefore, the mass is a tiny percentage of the contribution to the energy. So they have the mass number way off because they've way have exaggerated the meaning of the velocity. So the electron weighs thousands of times more than what they've calculated. The stupid fucking morons. Anyway, yeah, but it's okay. In order to sound credible, you would have to show a paper or proof. I don't have to do any such thing. All I have to do is show where you people are liars. I've demonstrated how the two slit is a lie. Okay, the Young experiment, two waves don't even get the right answer. I've explained how the surfaces create the phenomenon. That's my obligation. And the clear and resounding statement from you more fucking ons is, I don't care. Okay, I've pointed out how the Eddington said about his own experiment, I wouldn't stake my life on these results. He states in his own fucking journal, okay, he's expecting 10,000 stars and he gets 1,000. 10% of the data quality, and you fuckers will tell me I have to believe. All right, I don't need to write a paper. I don't need to do any goddamn math to point out how you fuckers are liars and deceivers, that you're just religious kooks. Because the fact is, the physics sucks. The science sucks. Your proof of fucking entanglement sucks. Okay? And you just keep lying that you've proven something and you've got some sort of fucking goddamn evidence of something and you have nothing. So what does Christina Rad have to do with anything here? What is that here for? Okay. Another person that needs to be deleted. We can make pion. So again, I really don't. You say you can. Okay, that's as big a lie as the whole positron therapy thing, right? Where it's not a beam of positrons. It's radio. It's regular proton and electron therapy. Okay, and they make up the positron part as if it happens inside your body. You know, that you hit the isotope with the beam of energy of radiation. Gamma rays even, and somehow the positron is created, and then the positron composes into some new gamma ray, and that new gamma ray is killing the thing, and blah blah blah. But there's no positron that really is seen. There's none that goes anywhere or comes out of any gun. It's all a lie. So no point in talking B field, all that kind of crap. Just no point at all. You have no clue, okay, why there's a right-hand rule. You just accept that there is. So you don't see anything wrong with that physics. Dark and less what? The experiment was redone with radio telescopes. Right, that went right through the corona of the sun. So you don't understand how the corona of the sun actually sends light to every possible location because of scatter, the conversation had earlier? That obviously you'll get, it'll take the shortest path and the light will take the longest path. It takes both paths. You can't do the experiment if you shoot the light through a field that scatters the light. So that's just breaking the rules. And there's actually photos of gravitational lensing. Yeah, no. Yeah, I deny it, of course, because Einstein, well, just explain to me why Einstein was wrong, right? Einstein told you that, you know what, gravity's a shitty lens, okay? It's not the right shape. Where it's supposed to bend the light a lot, it bends the light a little. So there's only one location in the entire lens where it's the right amount of bending, and it's a little thin location. So if you ever see an Einstein ring, it's going to be so thin, you won't be able to see it. And you'll never be able to send a picture of a galaxy. That could never happen. You can't send images. All you can do is send some photons, but you could never send images because it's not an imaging lens. It's exactly backwards from an imaging lens. Imaging lens bends the light on the outside more, bends the light on the inside less. Gravity bends the light on the inside more and bends the light on the outside less. Fucker. You're too fucking stupid. Alright, dude, I'll block you just for that. Half the stuff you type is censored by Google. Turn on live chat. It is on, you idiot. Oh, you mean he should turn it on? Oh. God. People are just so irritating. Anyway, like you would miss some of this bullshit. I told you more would come to participate. It's the middle of the night. That's why there's more, you fucking idiot. All right, but the the point is, it's the quality of the participation, and it was clear that half the participation here has just been by junkers. Okay, and the one guy doing all this talking hasn't been on the subject, right? It hasn't been anywhere close to any of the subjects: two-slit experiment, Eddington experiment, or the kinetic energy argument. Maybe you are right. We just need to see more proof. You make a lot of sense. Just need some solid, irrefutable proof. Well, they don't have any irrefutable proof. So again, don't you have kind of a double standard? I have to irrefutably prove, but they don't have to. So they never have to show you it taking twice as much, 4 times more gas to go twice as fast. But I have to show you it not doing that. Right? So yeah, you just have a double standard. It's okay. I'm just saying that's what you have, clearly. All right. Where did Einstein make that argument of being thin? This is literally made up. I'm saying that Einstein talked about Einstein rings, and he said you'd never see one. And the argument was because they're too thin. There's not enough photons. Do you think Einstein would have said something other than that? He made the same argument about gravitational waves, that there's not nearly enough energy for you ever to see one. You have no definition of the corona. Well, I don't need a definition. Lamb of the sun. So the lamb of the sun is technically a radius, I believe, or a half radius. So the experiment has to be out that distance, or you're going to be in a place where there's a ton of scattering matter. Are you saying there aren't about a gazillion, trillion, zillion electrons for, a million miles away from the sun? How big a distance from the sun? Even all the way here at Earth, there's a plasma that would actually hit the Earth if it wasn't for our magnetosphere blocking it. The high energy particles would actually be hitting the Earth and killing us. So what's your argument? That it's not filthy dirty, okay, next to the sun? Of course it is. Let's see. The experiment was much farther away from the corona. I didn't say that was. I'm talking about the radio telescope experiment. So again, get your fucking arguments correct. I didn't say Eddington did the experiment inside the corona. I said the radio experiments were done without any consideration for the fact that they're sending the fucking energy right through the corona of the sun. You fuck. You can't pay any fucking attention. See, that's just more lying. Implying that I did an unfairness to Eddington. I did no unfairness to Eddington. All I've done is quoted fucking Eddington's own fucking words. As far away as the orbit of Venus. What is it? Yeah, the corona is. Yeah, right, exactly. So if you're going to do an experiment where you shine radio waves through the corona of the sun and then tell me there's a big surprise that, how did it get to us? Well, it got to everybody. You could go anywhere in the solar system and pick up that radio signal because it's scattered in every fucking direction. All right, so this is what the tongue. Fuck you. I answered what you said. I did in real time. You are gonna notice, whatever that means. Does acceleration have units? Acceleration is just a change in velocity. Now, you want to think acceleration is per second, that somehow it's a squared function? Well, I'm saying fuck you. There's absolutely no reason it's second squared. There's no logical reason to square acceleration. None. I used special relativity pretty fine back when I was in school to decide radiation processes. Well, go ahead. I'm really happy for you. So go ahead, show us your paper, show us your website, show me something to indicate any of this crap you're saying means anything. I think you should unblock Dr. Andrew Castro. Again, there's no point. He has proven... Look, go ahead. You said he's going to be on the D. Hilster show. Let's see him do something, and then I'll say, oh, wow, that'd be great to debate him. Okay, so let's show that he knows some physics. I'm saying he doesn't know anything. He couldn't tell the difference between a cow and a horse. This guy is so fucking dumb. All right, read the next comment. I answer you. How far away is far enough? What does that even mean? You're a liar. Okay, well, you're blocked. All right. Okay, the radio telescopes and experiments were done away from the corona as well. Prove that. Show me one. Show me. Link. It's impossible. Radio telescope experiments can't do it because the fucking goddamn spectrum is so fucking wide. You don't understand that the fucking radio waves are way too big to control and be able to shoot that distance without spreading preposterously. We can't even send a laser beam to the moon without the beam ending up 4 miles across. We can't even send light in that straight fashion. How the fuck do you think they sent radio waves by the sun, through the sun's gravity? Bullshit. All right, VLB, whatever, goes out as well as 90 degrees away. Well, I don't even know what that means, but anyway. He was explained this over and over. I don't know what that means either. Genuinely, I don't know what that means either. Okay. You won't see it because you blocked him. What do you mean, I won't see it? He's supposed to be on D. Hilster's show, the guy said. I didn't... How does blocking him block me from seeing anything? You make no sense. Alright, VLBI is not a thing, apparently. I don't know what VLBI is, but whatever. Yeah, it's not a thing for me personally. Alright, so another fake account. They didn't send the radio waves, they detected them from sources, aka stars. Yeah, and again, so you're telling me that somehow the radio waves were sent as a laser beam from the star, and it didn't go through the corona of the sun. None of the energy went through the corona. It was a laser beam that was shot from another planet of radio waves, a little laser beam. Then it went right around the outside of the sun. It didn't go in through the corona. No, it went out through the outside of the sun and bent to the earth. That didn't happen, fuckhead. Jesus, you people are just so desperate. There's no way, there's no other experiment. You either redo the Eddington experiment or you got nothing, okay? You have to do an experiment that requires optical resolution. If you're not using optical resolution, then scatter can explain. Scatter won't explain images. If you can send a fucking image of something through scatter, then you know it can't be scatter that caused the effect, because scatter won't create an even image. All right, so you have to use an imaging source, not a radio source, an imaging source. And it would take $5 to do the fucking experiment from space. I mean, it's really $5 of satellite time. I bet you it doesn't cost more than like, what, $150? You know, if I could actually get to NASA and get to ask for the time, they'd probably say, well, how much is 5 minutes of camera time on satellite 498? How much does it cost? 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes of camera time. How much does it really cost? And they haven't done the fucking experiment. 400 times better resolution from space, and they haven't done it. And you people that are telling me you're credible and honest, when you can't say, you know what, that does smell like shit. Why the fuck haven't they done it? 400 times better resolution, and they haven't done the experiment, and that doesn't bother you? It just shows how dishonest you fuckers are. Alright. Let's see, this is kind of off topic. But how do people still believe that these could be different universes? Well, yeah, I don't know how they do that. It's too fucking silly. You realize regular light isn't like laser beams as well, right? Yeah, exactly. But the point is we can choose, you know, what we're going to see. Well, an optical image I can't see an optical image that goes that way or an optical image that goes that way. It has to go into my lens, okay? So, and we don't see that happen. Scatter can't make the image go into my lens. A lens has to form the image. So I'm just saying, you can't fuck up the Eddington experiment. If it's done right, it produces a decisive proof. And the question is, why, in 100 years, haven't we applied any superior technology to doing the experiment right? 400 times better seeing from space. 400 times. I mean, can you really describe seeing something 400 times better? My computer screen, 400 times bigger. And I'm not going to take advantage of that? I don't need an eclipse, and I can see 400 times better. And I don't do the experiment. Yeah, fuck you, I don't. It wasn't done in 2017 from space. It was done with a 3-foot telescope, a 4.5-inch lens. It wasn't even a reflecting telescope, for fuck's sake. What a pile of shit argument. An amateur barely done the experiment, and he produces absolutely no evidence, okay? His paper has no visual documentation in it that you could say, wow, look at this, I'll show this to grandma. Look at the sunlight being bent. It's so fucking stupid. Let's see. Mr. Castro worked for the Space Radiation Group. I'm sure he got radiated. As the janitor. Okay. He was explained that as well. He was explained that as well. That's really a good defense of the whack job by typing a wacky sentence. Good job. You're really defending. Let's see. And there's actual photos of gravitational lenses. So again, you say that's what those photos show. I'm arguing to you that there's no theory for those photos, okay? That Einstein would say, and I'll say, that as soon as you start imaging whole galaxies, you have to explain how you had the right bending to create a whole image. That means you had to have more bending on the outside and less bending on the inside. And gravity does exactly the opposite. You have to explain how that's possible then. How did you create an image with a reversed lens? So there's no detail, whatever. There's only one universe. Okay, yeah, we get that. You can't trust anything Gary says. You can't trust him as far as you can throw him. It's not about trust. I make real arguments, unlike you faggots. I actually argue, okay? You just sit there and make noises and fart and, stink the place up. I draw on the board to make arguments. Now, none of you people, for some reason, you're all so lame and so weak and so pathetic that you can't actually make an argument. Like, even if you can't make a video, you're so ugly or something, or mommy says you can't, whatever your excuse is that you can't make a video, you could still draw it on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, and show it as a video. You could still explain, and you don't bother. Because you don't take any of this seriously. ESA Hubble Gallery. So that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, they have a whole page dedicated to showing gravitational lensing. Go look at the images. You don't understand that high gravity has to be insanely spherical, that black holes aren't square, they aren't, funny shaped. You don't get it, that high gravity has to be incredibly spherical. It has to be, precisely, mathematically precise. Go look at those lensing images and show me the precision in any of them. The arcs are all over the place. It arcs 10 degrees in one place, 58 degrees in another place. They're all way off. And the only explanation NASA has is dark matter. So do you believe in that crap? You really believe it's reasonable to say, well, we can't explain it, so let's just make up invisible matter that doesn't have any properties, but except it makes gravity. So it doesn't do anything else matter does, it just makes gravity. And we can put it anywhere we want because it doesn't obey gravitational rules. That is, it doesn't orbit planets, it doesn't orbit galaxies. sensibly. We can just put it in strange and bizarre locations and somehow it stays there and it doesn't fall into the suns or it doesn't fall into the black holes. I mean, they'll fuck you. Alright. False info in his arguments. So you're blocked. There's nothing, you have to prove those arguments. You can't just say them. And I'm not going to waste my time defending myself from liars constantly, okay? There's nothing false in the videos. If you're going to make the accusation that I did something wrong, that I misquoted it, then prove it. Alright. Pixel detectors. What the hell's a pixel detector? You worked on neutron measurements on the ISS and active pixel detectors. Isn't that funny? Active pixel detector? What the fuck's an active pixel? And how you detect one. I mean, a pixel is a word for, a light emitting source. Pixels aren't, like pixies. They're not fairies or gremlins. I mean, why don't you just give up on the Dr. Castro stuff, right? I said I would watch the D. Hilster video. We have no evidence this guy even exists, okay? I'm just saying his channel has no content. There's no references. There's no indication he has anything to say about anything on this on the subject. And, and so here you're saying that the D. Hilsters are going to pay attention to this guy because he has something to say. And I'm saying, great, I'll go watch the video. What else do you want from me? Isn't that enough? Can't you just let it go? If there's an actual human being called Dr. Castro, I'll be happy to debate him. That if he actually shows up on D. Hilster's channel and knows what a tree is, or a dog, and can speak some kind of English. So I don't know why you think a passive detector isn't real time. But whatever, who cares? What are you talking about? Pixel as in silicon pads. What are you talking about? Do you have a LinkedIn? Why the fuck do you think I would? I don't have a Twitter. I don't have a Facebook. I wouldn't have a YouTube if there was some alternative. I have no interest in doing anything, to contribute to the corporatization of the internet. Well, do you really think adding him on LinkedIn will take me to a website where he explains any of his qualifications or any of his physics or any of his knowledge or anything of anything? That he'll show me his resume or something? What do you think I'm going to get on LinkedIn that I'm not going to get on YouTube? It depends on what you mean by life. I mean, if you're going to say, what, parameciums might exist on Jupiter, who the hell knows? I mean, the more complex the life, the more stable the environment's got to be, because the more complicated, the more things are to go wrong. It's that simple, right? The fancier the china in your house, the more likely it is to break in an earthquake. So yeah, the more complicated the organism, the harder it's going to be to keep it alive in a very energetic environment. And clearly, Jupiter doesn't look very safe. Lots of tidal forces. It's a big giant planet. The moons are probably ripped to pieces all the time by all the irregularities in the gravitational field. I'm just saying, if he has all these papers and presentations, why aren't any of them linked to his YouTube channel? So you can keep saying this shit, but sorry. The YouTube channel seems like it's just a guy talking shit. Well, you'll have to explain to me why that would be, okay? Why would I, as a scientist, put my credentials on LinkedIn and not put them anywhere else? Well, what do you mean no scientist does that? They all do that. They have their names on their YouTube channels. And then they talk, or they have their whole agenda. I mean, Sean Carroll. I mean, I can give you all the names. Professor Lewin. They all have their names. I'm just saying, you're telling me it's reasonable, based on the content he posted on my channel, that I should engage in a debate with a person who the only thing he could say was, "I'll debate you," and he said it 3 times. He provides no comments, no indication he has any counter argument, and then the only other thing he says is, "What are the subjects?" Now, you would take that seriously. Somebody who has to ask you what the subjects are that they're going to debate. They don't even know what the subjects are, and they're telling you they will debate you. You can't figure out how that doesn't make any fucking sense. Well, you're wrong about the pop scientists not publishing. Of course they do publish. I would say it's all crap, but the fact is they do. I'm not asking for his personal info. Don't you understand? I'm just saying the guy's claiming to be a NASA engineer. And I'm supposed to just believe it because somebody second person told me? He didn't post it on my channel and say, "I'm a NASA engineer, I'd like to debate you." He just said, "I, who has an anonymous YouTube channel, wishes to debate you." You don't understand how I should be a little skeptical? Why should I take that seriously? I mean, you people are just, like I said, I don't know what your game is, Jim, all right? But you're just making yourself very suspicious. Why are you so overtly trying to defend, which is obviously trolls? I mean, who as a real scientist would approach somebody for a debate in that manner? They would go right to the subject. They say, "I'm perfectly prepared to debate and defend MV squared. Let's do it. What's your Skype?" Well, again, what do you mean by publish? So again, you think I'm going to get published in the Catholic Review? I mean, really, you think there's a realistic chance that all these publications spouting all of this, how we must believe in the entanglement God and all this other crap, that they're going to publish anything I have to say? So even though I have proven that the double slit experiment is the force source experiment, and that you don't need any wave functions at all to explain the outcome, that it completely is explainable as light scatter, all right, you think they'll publish it? Well, I'm saying you're saying he seems legitimate. And I'm saying to you, fine. You just told me he's going to be on D. Hilster's channel. So fine, I just told you I have nothing against debating him if he can make a rational debate. So I'll be glad to debate levers. I'll be glad to debate kinetic energy, any subject he wishes, okay? But let's see if he can do any of that stuff. I'm saying he's a fucking nut. You're saying he's a credible physicist. I find that insane. I don't find it possible that he could be a credible physicist because he can't even engage in a conversation as a rational person. What he has done is irrational behavior. He's a nut. What video did you make? So who the hell is this guy? Say God see blah 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 blah. I made a whole video. Who is you? What video did you make? Please provide a link. I'll post the link right here. I'll post it on my channel in big giant capital letters. You didn't post any fucking debunking video at all. You pathetic liar. Please, let me see your counter argument to the four-source argument. Yeah, let me see it. No chance, fucker. I don't need to pick a topic. For fucking 2 years I've been talking about kinetic energy. Tell him to provide evidence that it takes 4 times more energy to go twice as fast. Will you please ask Dr. Castro to show me the NASA physicist scientific experiment they did where they showed it took 4 times more fuel to go twice as fast? For fuck's sake. Incredible. You know who you are? 1221. Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, you're sitting there, what, posting somebody's address in hieroglyphics? Oh, God. People are disgusting. Ugh. That's all you got. Everyone's a liar. Yeah, well, you got that part right. Can you imagine living in such a world? Well, I don't know what. We don't have to imagine it. I lived my whole life among these scum. And, yeah, I got nothing nice to say about Earthlings. Oh, yeah, coming from the troll gullible, you know. So you have a screen name that's overtly a trigger name. You do understand that, right? That you're just trying to trigger people with your name. And then you talk about being civil? Yeah, too funny. Yeah, well, Jim, I'm just saying I'm perfectly willing to you show me the experiment. I'm the one who's shown all the 1950s and 60s experiments, all right? So I showed them measuring the mass of an electron, and then I showed them doing this, making this critical mistake of combining 2 formulas, momentum and kinetic energy, and they said the 2 things are equivalent, and then they create their 3rd formula and does do the math of the electron. I'm saying you don't see any problem with that? I showed the linear accelerator, you know, and all of a sudden they're measuring how much charge they're putting on the aluminum plate. And then all of a sudden they decide, well, we don't like measuring charge anymore, so let's measure how hot it gets instead. You don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, fuck you. I would suggest you read a book on logic. Why don't you explain how Eddington, it was perfectly correct to have a New York Times headline saying Einstein proven right, when Eddington's own journal says, I got 10% of the data, and I wouldn't trust my life on these results. So So you think that's the way physics should work, and you never repeat the experiment with superior technology in 100 years. You have 100 years and you never repeat the experiment with better technology. And then when there's a perfect 12 noon eclipse, right? Eddington's was a 2 o'clock eclipse. A 12 noon eclipse over the most advanced civilization on Earth, right? Directly over the most advanced technology the Earth has, and nobody does the experiment except an amateur. And you're telling me all that's real credible. I'm telling you, fuck you, okay? I'm not a stupid dupe. Maybe you believe in that Jesus theory, but I'm not falling for it. Alright, too bad people don't take these topics seriously. Seems like people want to just waste time trolling and not arguing on the argument. Well, again, yes, it's 2 years of proof. They argue that a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour has twice the energy of a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour. And yet I've demonstrated how, well, levers do it all the time. Levers do that conversion all the time. That's what they're made for, is doing that exact conversion. So how can it have twice the energy? Because then that would be free energy. Yes, that argument I've been saying for 2 years. I've been making the argument about guns and bullets. You say you believe in Newton's third law. Well then, how can it be 2,000 joules going this way out of the gun and only 2 joules of energy in the recoil? How is that an equal and opposite reaction? 2,000 and 2? Yeah, so I say, fuck you. I mean, who are you trying to fool with this shit? Anyway. Gary, all these people are assholes, plus many of us love and respect you. Keep on keeping on. We are here to support you. Well, you've always done that, so, you know, yeah. So, I don't mean to ever degrade the people who have been very helpful and very supportive, like the people doing the animations. I can't tell you how much I benefited from just the creation of it, you know, figuring out, you know, what works and what doesn't work. And, you know, it's invaluable, the contributions people have made in terms of having, making rational points. You know, people told me, hey, something didn't work. And I'd say, hey, shit, you're right, it doesn't work. Yeah. That's all been great. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that the internet is covered in 99% shit. So that's the unfortunate part. But regardless, you know, it's the world that exists and I have to live in it. So that's what I'll do. Look, Jim, there's ways of getting links to me, okay? I mean, ds at donotgo.com, okay? That'll get to me. Post me the fucking link. All right, and I'll do whatever, I'll broadcast it for you. All right, you can post it on my website. There's ways of getting the link, okay? And I'll post the fucking link if it's a link to anything that could mean anything to anybody. Okay. Yes, I support liars and people who BS over and over again as well. Keep up the good work. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Whoa ho. Don't know what that means either. Yeah. Let's see. Woohoo. Okay. What do you show from a linear accelerator? I'm just pointing out how, you know, with 100,000 volts going across the accelerator, the electrons that they say they're accelerating are already going 98% the speed of light. Right? And then they quadruple and then zazuple the amount of electrical potential, and the electrons go from going 98% of the speed of light to going 98.2% of the speed of light. And yet they say they have 1,000 or 1 million times more energy. So they didn't go any faster, yet they have a whole bunch more energy. So I made lots of arguments about, no, the reason why they have a 2-foot wall is because they're blocking all the gamma radiation that's pushing the electrons. The whole reason why they can't go anywhere near the experiment when it's on is because they're creating a ton of gamma radiation that's doing all the pushing. That's what's heating the aluminum plate. Okay, it's not just electrons they're throwing out of their gun. Alright, do you have a LET or whatever spectra from your linear accelerator? Whatever. I don't have a linear accelerator. So now you're getting wacky, Jim. Linear energy transfer. I don't know what that means. I mean, really, F equals me wrong. This is flat Earth. So what's flat Earth? I don't. What's your point? You know, if I said it's MGT and not MGH, what would you think is wrong with that statement? That's how long you're in gravity decides how much energy you collect from gravity. How long you free fall decides how much energy you collect. That's about time. The faster I go through a gravitational field, the less the field affects me. Why would that be true if MGT was nonsense? All right. You have no evidence, just talk. No, you have no evidence, just talk. You talk about your dark energy and your dark matter. You talk about your MV squared, and you can't prove it. Can't show me any fucking evidence. Not a single solitary piece of physical evidence that it takes 4 times the energy to go twice as fast. Not any evidence that an 8-pound bowling ball going twice the speed knocks down more pins than a 16-pound ball going half the speed. Not one single shred of evidence. No professional bowler using the lighter ball. You just say your shit with no evidence. Newton's third law refers to forces, not energy. Frankly, Newton thought forces were energy. He thought momentum was energy. They didn't have the word energy, but clearly that's what quantity of motion meant. It meant an amount of substance. He thought a foot-pound was energy. Pressure, energy. This is so easily refutable. Then why don't you get to it, fuckhead? But I will just repeat the same thing over and over. No, you'll repeat no evidence. You'll provide no evidence ever. All right, so let me just block this guy again. I don't know why. They just keep making sock account after sock account. So you'll add Dr. Castro to your LinkedIn. I don't have a LinkedIn. Fuck you, in the ass till dead. I told you what I would do. I'm going to block you now, I think. Right? Is it time? I told you what I'd do. I'd listen to him. And we'll see if he's capable of making anything called, like, speak English rational debating. So if he can defend 1/2 mv squared, let me hear him do it. He can explain to me what Leibniz meant by soliton and monad. I'd be very curious to hear what the fuck a soliton and a monad are. Fuck, you're just such an asshole. That's because of relativity. Whatever. Relativity has been thoroughly debunked. Well, I don't know if that's true. Okay? You can't debunk it. It's a fucking ghost theory. Okay? You really can't debunk it. You really can't, in the sense that it's such a magical theory. It doesn't say anything real. Okay? It just says stuff about stuff that you can't access. It's pretty hard to debunk entanglement. Oh, yes, microparticles have ESP. Well, yeah, I can't do brain surgery on them to prove they don't. But whatever. I would argue that the evidence is so fucking weak, okay, that they have proven that time bends and that clocks don't break. So they're claiming that atomic clocks don't ever break. There's nothing you can do to an atomic clock to change how fast it ticks time. That's what their argument basically is. And that can be debunked. All I have to do is put more radioactive isotopes in the room, and I've broken their atomic clock. They're really easy to break, actually. All right, dark matter is a lazy religion. The whole fucking all their physics is their wave theory is a lazy religion. It looks just like water, except it doesn't look anything like water. In a single slit, water doesn't look anything like photons. Photons can create 70 little bars. Let's see water do that with one single slit open. No fucking chance. All right. Would you accept a debate if it was text-only format? What do you think this is, you fucking cunt? You are typing text. I'm arguing it, okay? No rhetoric? What the fuck does that even mean? Rhetoric is part of, there's people who are professional rhetorians, because that's part of what a debate is supposed to have in it, is rhetoric. Okay, no emotion, just pure arguments. Well, where are you indicating that you're capable of a pure argument? It's really just about evidence in the end. Okay, and some of the evidence is in the form of your Duncan experiments, where you just point out how it can't possibly be true. So I could argue to you that 1/2 mv squared and momentum can't both be real things. One of them has to be a fantasy because they're in direct contradiction with each other. Anytime I do a transfer of energy between heavy things and light things, I'll get different answers, and that can't be possible. So one of them has to go because one of them is nonsense. And I'm arguing the obvious answer is the one that has every appearance of being nonsense, no evidence, and invented by a religious kook. That's the one you get rid of. We can reference exact quotes. So again, I'm pleading with you. Give me some exact Leibniz quotes defending 1/2 mv squared. No, for him it was just mv squared. There was no half. So show me some direct quotes that are compellingly at all interesting as evidence. Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me. It's on every video I post. It has my email address right in the description. For fuck's sake. ds@donotgo.com. Or you could even say Jim at, and it'll still get to me. But anyway. I don't use relativity for anything. Because I don't think relativity has anything to do with it. Everything has real energy, not fake energy. I'm just saying, why would I want to get into a text conversation about any subject just about? I can draw in a video. I can draw pictures. I can illustrate the pictures. I can make the pictures move. I can add arrows and bend. Why the fuck would I limit myself to text? Frankly, that's the whole problem with all the papers written in physics, is that 90% of them contain absolutely no hard information about what the fuck was done. No photographs, no videos, no nothing. You wouldn't want that? When they tell you that they did something, you wouldn't want to actually see it, be able to just hit the video link and see the experiment, see how the thing happened? Alan Aspect's experiment is complete mystery, basically. There's crayon drawings of it. You barely can understand what the fuck he does. And he makes a video and he doesn't show anything. He shows a little, here, this is my magic mirror. Nothing. No value at all. Well, I'm sorry, Jim. You're just proving you're as irrational as Dr. Castro. Okay, you prefer a text-based discussion about physics. I don't even think physicists would want to do that. Oh, so he's bringing up blithering genius again. What do you think blithering genius has to say about anything? What do you think his great argument is? Could you post one of his brilliant sentences somewhere? It's just amazing. What do you think this guy can say that's going to be a problem for me? I've already debated him. We already know what the fundamental arguments are. He's obviously a phantasmagorical poofter. He has no idea what reality is or what real life is like. And he is perfectly willing to say he will torture other people for his happiness. He's a nihilist. He doesn't place value on feeling creatures' welfare. So how is there exactly room for a debate? I'm supposed to debate something with an idiot who doesn't believe it matters whether he steps on a cat and crushes it or not, whether he runs it over on the street or not. It's irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. Why would I debate that? That's elemental. Okay, we have an elemental, fundamental disagreement. There's nothing to debate. I believe in evolution. He clearly doesn't. It would be like reading a paper. Well, as I just pointed out, I've been searching the papers. Go show me where the paper on the first entanglement experiment explains a damn thing, where you can understand what the hell their polarizer was. They described the polarizer as 10 bent pieces of some kind of material. Yeah, there's nothing. You know, you're so insincere. You're just such a liar. Oh, I can't believe he's doing this. What are the debate topics you're up for? Okay, I'm going to block you now because I've said this so many times right to your face. I've been talking about it for 2 fucking years. Obviously, kinetic energy is right on the top of the list, you fucking cunt. I can't believe he would say that after all this crap. So, yeah, fuck off, Jim. I mean, that was just so pathetically stupid. Look, you can make the claim. I'm just saying that I obviously debated his arguments. So I just don't understand what your argument is. I'm not afraid to have a conversation, but I'm just saying, what's the evidence that I need to have one with this particular troll? You know. So I don't know why you have such a horny for him. So whatever. What's the channel again? I keep forgetting the name of it. Well, I'll remember when I play this video again. Okay, so that'll be good enough. So yeah, we'll just block socially retarded. Yeah. Blithering genius. I debated somebody called blithering genius. I mean, that did happen. Yeah, well, blithering genius, you don't think he's not a troll? He makes videos where he puts up these abstract images of complete mush and then just drones on and on and on about things you never actually said. He doesn't play my video and then say what I said and counter-argue in some way. He just drones on and on and on about nothing. So, blithering genius. So we'll go look him up later and see what he's done recently. So he really wants to have a debate. You're saying this blithering genius guy is up for a face-to-face debate. I don't think he's ever made a video with his face in it. Well, good. I guess we're done. Alright. So it really all was just one asshole, pretty much. It just kept things going, but whatever. So were there any great counter-arguments against the fact that momentum is a viable explanation of energy and it works all the time, it doesn't ever fail, and kinetic energy creates free energy with devices as simple as a lever? So was there a counter-argument to that theory? Was there any counter-evidence provided? No. Blithering Genius made a video titled "Showing My Face." Okay, I haven't watched a Blithering Genius video for like 4 fucking years. So I'm saying you think it's really relevant. I have to worry about whatever this blithering genius fucker's doing, okay? I copied his fucking name. I'll go to his fucking channel. I'll see if there's some desperation he has to have, wants to have a debate with me, okay? But I don't see what the point is. As my recollection is, he's just a retarded nihilist. He's saying we can't figure out what value is. I can figure it the fuck out. Yeah, well, it does suck. This whole environment. But like I said, this is just the human condition. It's so much different, you know, I have to say. It's just a world that's quite different from the world I grew up in, right? I was 9 years old when we landed on the moon. And it almost looked like human beings were really going to kick ass. You know, a few years later, the Vietnam War ends. The whole thing is looking bright. And then everybody just went discoing and shit. And it's like, you know, the whole thing just turned to shit. It was just so funny how it was like, you know, just you reach that peak and then it's just all downhill. And it's like humans have just gotten dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber. Okay, well, it's like the 2-minute warning, so if you have anything that you need to get off your chest or whatever, get to it. Well, whether I will do or won't do, the point is I've made a lot of arguments, and I think a lot of them are very good arguments, and they're going to survive my existence. And so if it don't happen tomorrow, it's going to happen eventually, that the fucking, you know, the truth will win in the end. It'll have its day. Damn, this frickin' battery. Ugh. You know, it does take time to get familiar enough with things, but frankly, I mean, you know, all these are such easy shortcuts. If somebody, you know, would have just pointed out obvious things to me, you know, so I'm just saying that once you know the gimmick, you know, like the 2-slit experiment, it's just so obvious in hindsight. You're just sitting there saying, oh yeah, it's not about adding this single slit to this single slit. It's about adding this single slit to this single slit. You know, that's what happens when you bring the two together, right? It's not about this and this. It's about this and this. And it's so obvious. And it's like, oh, shit. I spent 10 years fucking around with that damn experiment and wondering how the fuck this thing works. And it was that simple. It's just about the surfaces. I mean, that one's disappointing. Now, the 1/2 mv squared, I frankly didn't take that seriously from any point in my life. I don't remember ever thinking, oh shit, it takes 4 times the energy to go twice as fast on my bicycle or something. I never had that impression. I never thought it takes 4 times more energy to throw the bowling ball twice as fast. Never thought so. So, I mean, none of that. When I found out that one was just, what the fuck? They really believe this shit? I mean, man, people are really dumb. Yeah, well, I mean, what's the best you could hope for in terms of something visiting would be a robot from another civilization, but you're never going to meet the actual people because, yeah, space travel is hard. And the whole evolution thing is just so... I don't know why people have this impression that things just poof into existence. But when you think of all the obstacles, only one single neuron cell was ever created on Earth. One. Never happened twice, no other kind of neuron, nothing. Just one cell ever turned into a neuron. Yeah, well, I've pointed out the E equals mc squared is just Einstein making up a fake huge number. So he's just basically saying there's a lot of energy inside of atoms. That's all he's saying. Atoms are compressed, okay? And so there's a lot of energy, just like there's a lot of energy in the Earth, right? If we took the Earth and took it out of whatever's creating gravity, right? We just all of a sudden released it from the burden of having all the outside crust push in, all the mass that's above the... Like, just imagine being 100 miles from the center of the Earth. And there's this huge amount of mass above you, smashing you, okay? Just crushing the fuck out of you. And imagine all of that becomes weightless instantly. Well, you've got to understand you've got a huge amount of pressure pushing you the other way, right? I mean, the Earth is going to explode with this huge intensity. And that's all that E equals mc squared is saying. That inside of atoms, atoms are made inside of a sun. They're made in incredibly high pressure. And they're smashed together. And then 100 elements, 100 possible geometric arrangements can survive outside of that nucleus of the sun. So you can take, you know, it's an arrangement. The geometry is so rigid and so solid, so clean, so perfect, that it can survive being expanded. And that's all it is. 100 atoms. It's less than that, you know, that are real atoms. But it's not too much, just pretty simple geometry that can survive. And if it gets too complicated, it falls apart. Do you have an explanation why it is this and that rule rather than some other rule? So again, you want to know why there is and is. No, I'm not gonna, no, I don't have the answer to why it is this and not that. That's, you know, yeah. No, I don't have that answer. Yeah, it just means a really big number, right? I mean, what's the speed of light squared? It's a preposterously huge number. That's all it's there for. It's just telling you that there's a lot of Planck amounts of momentum or force or pressure. So it's just basically just saying there's a huge amount of pressure inside of an atom. That's all it's saying. Then anything that has mass has momentum, and the momentum is made out of atomic momentum ultimately. And the atomic momentum is substantial. I suppose you could understand it as, I sort of understand it as just being a quantity of space. That every quantity of space has what you would call an average amount of energy. And so what a mass is an occupation of space. And so by occupying space, it's basically replacing the space the energy would be free to move in. And now the energy can't move in that space because there's matter in the way. So the number is kind of telling you that any weight of matter is consuming a huge amount of space. Now it's in kilograms, the mass. So I mean, it's a big, gigantic piece of mass, all right? I mean, a kilogram is quadrillions of atoms. So you're not talking about, you know, you're talking about a gigantic speed of light squared is a gigantic number, but so also is the mass number. And it's essentially, you're saying it's mass divided by, you know, the square. It's not even a multiplied, it's more like a division. Because the elemental mass is the kilogram, is not the kilogram, but the fucking electron. So it would be interesting to, if you actually put the m number into into atomic weights that were much smaller, like the weight of an electron, and then did the equation, it'd be interesting to see what you'd end up as a c squared number. Like instead of c squared, it'd be more like 17 squared. To get the same answer. The momentum number would be so much smaller because the electron number is like a 10 to the 37th kind of number, right? 10 to the minus 37th or some kind of crap like that. A kilogram is to an electron, that kind of huge disproportion in terms of the numbers. Yeah, any velocity squared, I would argue, is broken geometry. Because, there's nothing, velocity isn't multidimensional. It's always the case that velocity is in one direction. It doesn't have any other dimension to it. So how can you make velocity dimensional? It just doesn't make any sense. Please put down on paper equations evidenced. So again, why? What do you need as an equation? If I tell you when your spring compresses, if I tell you this, okay, I drop something from 4 times the height, it only weighs twice as much. Now, why do you need an equation? Doesn't that prove that it's not kinetic energy? That it can't be 1/2 mv squared? I mean, it's showing you right plainly that it's only 4 times the height, mgh. Gets the wrong answer. It's only twice the weight. 4 times the height, twice the weight. How can that possibly jive with your physics? It doesn't fit. It doesn't make any sense. Twice the weight just means me lifting the same weight twice. I have one of the weights, I put it here on the scale. It weighs a certain amount. I did a certain amount of work to lift it here. If I have twice the weight, I do twice the work. That's it. I get the same reading on the scale if I drop it 4 times from the 4 times the height. How can it be more energy when I drop it when it weighs exactly the same? How can it be more if it weighs the same? So what equation do you need? My argument is your equations are wrong, okay? Force equals momentum equals weight equals heat equals, they're all equal. There's no different kinds of energy. There's only one kind of energy. It's called momentum. So just find out how big the particles are and find out how fast they're moving, and you know exactly how much energy there is. What else do you need? Please submit a paper of evidence. So again, no. Yeah, that's a simple answer. MV, you still can't get it? If 1/2 mv squared is wrong, what is the correct answer? The answer that Galileo, Newton, and Descartes all believed in. MV. E equals momentum. Momentum is your weight. Gravity gives you energy. It pushes you into the earth. It's pushing you into the earth, giving you weight. Your mass has no weight till it's moving. You have to move into the earth to have weight. The earth pushes you back. That's what you're feeling all the time, is the energy the earth has to use to compensate against your momentum. You have momentum into the earth. The earth has to use energy to push you back. Fuck. Damn, it's pretty simple. Booyah! You got it. MV. There you go. Not hard. You figured out your own answer. Good. I'm just saying, MV was believed by everybody. Leibniz came along and said it's MV squared. Guess what? Everybody thought Leibniz was wrong. Leibniz was buried as a nobody. Nobody went to his funeral. Nobody paid to bury him. Nothing. Newton was buried as a god. Okay, that's how it worked out until 1720, 1735. So long after Newton was dead and Leibniz was dead, this was redug up, this mv squared crap, with one stupid, idiotic experiment where they dropped round things into clay and said, well, look, they displace 4 times as much, therefore 4 times the distance, 4 times the energy. When you could sort of understand that round things aren't fair. Okay, when they first go into the surface, they're very flat. And as they go deeper and deeper, they start pushing things sideways. They don't have to push them this way, they just push them that way. So it gets easier and easier for them to go through the clay the deeper they go. Now, an idiot, a physicist, should be able to understand that argument. It's not too subtle, right? I mean, that argument isn't too subtle, is it? Is it really too complicated for you people? That this round surface means there's like little vector arrows that would be sticking out, showing which way the energy is going to have to push, and that here it has to push this way, and then it's going to have to push that way to get the clay removed, right? It can't just keep going this way because it gets back pressure. So it's going to have to push it 2 ways. It's going to have to push this way, then that way. And that's twice as much work. That's too complicated? I need official proof. I don't even know what that means. You waiting for the Catholic Church to say I'm right? Well, good. Wait. You're going to have to wait a long time. Things aren't going to change until the audience forces the change, till they force the debate. I've been willing to pay people thousands of dollars to debate the physics, okay? I offered Veritasium $3,000. I offered Thunderfoot $3,000. I've offered them real money to touch these subjects, and they won't do it. Over 40 of them I have sent emails to requesting their participation, and I will pay them for their time, and they won't show up. Look, I did the publishing thing in the beginning, and I found the fact is you're not going to get any fair editorial response. They just dismiss your paper. So why should I waste my time writing them a paper? I'm just saying I can't be any more willing to demonstrate a fact to you people than to have the fact put in conversation and describe how it works. How is a paper more complete than making a video? I mean, you don't think it's better for me to draw a picture of a lever and show how it works and what my accusation is about a 10-ton train and a 5-ton train and all that? You think it'd be better to put that in form of a written piece of paperwork, and that somehow will compel the physicist to show up for the argument? If that's what you believe, I think you're kind of foolish, okay? Because I don't think that'll compel them to make the argument. I mean, look, the toady guy showed up, and he was kind of connected to the flat earth debunking community, and he couldn't get any of those debunkers to show up and debate me. I mean, the fact is that they won't do it, okay? They won't make a video, they won't debate me, they won't in any way counter the argument. Nothing. There's no counter argument provided. I don't even know what that means. Well, he thinks both newer. I don't know what the hell are you saying? Well, he thinks both Newton and Einstein are furtards. Who thinks that? I mean, I'm grateful that Einstein was willing to fight quantum mechanics as it had become, the spooky action crap. But I obviously think this relativity theory is absolute fucking horseshit. Bent space, I think that's a silly answer. The gravity is clearly creating a ton of momentum. It's an energy producer. It can't make energy, so therefore it must be energy. It can't be just bent geodesic. That's just crap. I mean, as stated, I really could do experiments. But I'm sort of thinking that if this is ever going to get off the ground, people have to understand the theory. I mean, they should be able to understand theoretically why momentum and kinetic energy are completely incompatible. They can't coexist. There's no capacity for them to both be viable theories of reality. It's impossible. Because for that to be true, there would have to be free energy, because one of them would always have to be creating free energy in any circumstance whenever you use two uneven masses. So whenever there's a circumstance where two masses of uneven masses interact, one of the theories fucks up all over the place and doesn't conserve energy. So if you believe in conservation of energy, you know the two theories can't possibly coexist. 3,001, that's less than I make in 2 days. What are you talking about now? I don't know. It's bizarre. Oh, yeah, $3,000. Yeah, it's a real pile of money, though, isn't it? I mean, $3,000 for whatever, half hour of your time? It's pretty good. That's real money. So I'm happy for you that you make $6,000 a day. I'm just saying, for I think most human beings, $3,000 is at least a week's work, maybe a lot more. Certainly for me, I never made close to. I didn't make $3,000 in my whole life. I never made $3,000 in a week. It would take a month for me to make $3,000. So I'm sorry you're not impressed. Regardless, I'm impressed, and I think if if somebody offered me $30, I would probably do it. But I'm just saying, it's just the hypocrisy. Look. When originally, before Hassenfelder got popular, she was part of an organization where they would allow you to call physicists and talk to them on the phone for an hour if you paid them $100. So they were only getting $100. I think $100 a half hour. So you could talk to a physicist for a half an hour for $100. All right, and I offered them twice that. Okay, and they still wouldn't let me record it. So they had no interest if I was going to record the conversation. I mean, you don't think that just shows how weaselly the whole thing is? Well, regardless of whether it's outdated, it's just. It's tedious, frankly. And so that's my biggest complaint, is that, it just slows the whole process down. So it's a big, time-consuming pain in the ass to formally write it up. And, all the time you have to waste just explaining the lever. Oh, I mean a lever made out of a substance that's hard but very light. And the fulcrum, who wants to go through all that crap? Well, I don't think it has anything. I think they got plenty of ego. If they thought they were going to win the debate, they'd be here. There's plenty of people who'd show up for the debate if they thought they could control it and make me look stupid. But what they're afraid of is that the exact opposite will happen. That I will turn the table, okay, and they're not going to come off looking brilliant. Because I don't think there's any brilliant counter-argument. Do you really think any physicist can come up with a brilliant counter-argument why they haven't redone the Eddington experiment? Now, in all the years I've been saying that one for 5 years at least. All right, where I've been griping and harping. Okay. And since Professor Lewin, explained to me that it's 400 times better resolution from space, it made the argument even more compelling. 400 times, not 4 times better, not 40 times better, 400 times better data, clearer, more precise data. 400 time improvement over doing it from Earth. And they haven't done it. And you're telling me that a physicist, an honest physicist, could say, yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I totally get how they just didn't bother doing that. It's not an important experiment. Probably proving that light is bent twice as much by gravity. Yeah, we don't need to bother with that. I'm just saying, I don't see how any credible, honest person who loves science could ever defend not redoing an experiment of such importance. I mean, it made Einstein a household word. If it wasn't for that experiment, Einstein's theories might have not gone anywhere. He might have been no better than, what's the guy, Boehm. He might have had an interesting theory, but no one paid any attention. I mean, it was a watershed moment, or whatever you want to call it. Big deal. And the fact that they've never proven it, never really validated this fact as a fact with experimental evidence. And they have this simple experiment they could do from space, and all it takes is 5 minutes. It just takes 5 minutes. All they have to do is just point the camera, watch the stars for 5 minutes, and see where they move. See how they move. That's it. No big deal. I mean, with the 400 times better resolution, frankly, they could probably videotape it. They could probably get a star that's bright enough that they could actually videotape it disappearing, and coming back. Oh, I've looked wherever there is to look, but whatever. It's always my fault, right? So I send out emails. I offer people more than fair compensation for their time. I do all that, and that's not good enough. I have to do more. It's just such a double standard. But anyway, have you looked into modern day debate or other channels like that? Well, somebody gave me some link to some silly place, and the debates were 5 years old and 15 people commented. So I don't know, is that really viable? Again, I'll still argue. I think debates we should use all the technology we have. So I really think debates should be in video, and there should be experiments and boards and all that stuff should be in the debate. I don't see any problem there. Why wouldn't you do it that way? I mean, why wouldn't you optimize the debate? I mean, giving each other questions ahead of time might be fine too. You could make it even better. I'll just submit my questions ahead of time. I'll just say, look, I'm going to ask you, why haven't they redone the editing experiment? I want you to give me some sort of rational answer, okay? Because so far I haven't gotten a single peep. I mean, people won't even give me an irrational answer. They give me no answer. 400 times better resolution, and it's good science not to redo the experiment. What? I mean, shit. And then I'd like to ask them, so the LIGO guy says that you can convert matter into gravity. So I can convert matter into bent space. I mean, who validated that? I mean, what editor at what paper review place said that was okay? I mean, Einstein didn't say you could do that. Who the fuck said you could do that? And yet they'll put Einstein's name on it and say these gravitational waves have something to do with Einstein. Fine, I will go to whatever modern day debate. I don't know what the fuck that is. Is it .com? What the fuck is it? Modern day debate. You have to do a little better than this. Ugh. Video is way to go. Nice, speedy, cut off the BS. Yeah, and you can even accelerate the argument, which is even fun, right? If it's moving, if people are talking too slow, you can speed it up. I mean, it's really a great way to absorb information. So who debates on modern day debate? So you're talking about like two chunkle heads who don't know anything about anything and they just debate anybody about anything? And you're telling me I'm supposed to have a physics debate with them? Oh, fuck. You know, what's the point? Yeah, okay, you're saying they get 20,000 views, which is hardly miraculous. Is there any indication they can handle subjects like physics or biology or chemistry? I mean, you don't really understand that, somebody can't just make a casual counter argument, right? I mean, they have to know who Leibniz is. They have to know who Madame Chartelet is. They have to know who Joule is. They have to know what Joule's experiments did. I mean, they have to have a little bit of context here, don't they? I mean, can they really competently just talk about 1/2 mv squared if they don't know who any of these people are? I mean, the funny thing is Thomas Young shows up again because he's the one who sort of formalized the 1/2 mv squared. And he's the one who first used the word energy in public. So it is kind of ironic that he messed up two physics subjects. A really great scientist, but he did mess up two subjects. He was actually a doctor, so he did a lot of experiments on vision and light and color. So I don't know, somebody had linked me to some guy who wanted me to pay them to debate me, okay? And there was no evidence the guy knew anything about physics. So it was like, yeah, I'm going to pay a guy who doesn't know anything about physics to debate me. Like that's some reason I would do that? I don't want to get my message out to people. Okay, that's useless. I want to get my message out to people capable of arguing points, making arguments. That's the whole point, is to have them test the theory, to apply their logic and intelligence to the facts and provide their rational input. I don't need an audience of chucklehead, okay? I don't need an audience who's watching debates about how far somebody's dick is up their ass. That's not going to help. I need an audience of people who are literate on the subject of physics. I mean, I have to win the war against physics, okay? I can't win the war, because I gave away more candy, or I paid some chicks, to dance behind me. That's not going to win the day, okay? The war has to be a straight up competition between their chatter, okay, and my facts. C equals D divided by T. Well, thank you. That's very helpful. So again, it's time. It's how much time you're in gravity. So you really don't think. It's how much time you're in gravity that affects you. So if there's a gravitational body and I go flying past it, it's not about how much time I'm exposed to the gravity. It's about some other thing. It's about some distance thing. The amount of distance decides how much pulling force, not the amount of time I'm in the gravity. Finding an audience of people who are literate on the subject of physics might be a challenge. Well, it's not a challenge for, what are you talking about? Physics Girl gets 1 million views. Veritasium gets 8 million. I mean, come on. What are you talking about? Speed equals distance. You can keep saying it, okay? There's no such thing as speed, so we're talking about velocity, okay? And we're talking about a matter that has to have the velocity. The forces all move at the same speed and have the same quanta, value of energy. So, of mass. So again, what are you talking about? How did you counter my argument? The fact is that I could fall 4 times the distance. I'm only in the gravity twice as long. Fact. You don't think it's an important fact? I fall from 4 times the height. It only takes me twice as long. I'm only getting exposed to the gravity. I'm only free falling twice as long. The force of gravity is only pushing on me twice as long. And I only weigh twice as much. You don't think there's anything correlating between the fact that I only have twice the velocity, I'm only in the gravity twice as long, and I only weigh twice as much, and yet you say I have 4 times the energy? I'm saying your math is a pile of shit. Okay? It's MGT, not MGH. Time. Gravity is entirely a time-dependent force. The longer you're free falling in it, the more energy you'll collect from it. Alrighty then, yeah, I stayed longer than I was going to, so that's good enough. A couple hours, blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's more than 2 hours, right? Yeah, 2 hours and 46 minutes. Shit. Alright, that's a lot longer. Oh, he typed another fucking idiotic formula. Totally useless, okay? You want to keep saying the same shit, fine, okay? I'm saying I know it's twice the time, I know it's twice the velocity, I know it's twice the weight, I know it's twice the energy. You want to believe otherwise, go the fuck ahead, retard. I'm saying you're wrong, you have no evidence, you'll never show any physical evidence, you'll never show a physical experiment demonstrating it takes 4 times as much fuel to go twice as fast. You'll never show the fact. So just keep saying it like a good little Jesus disciple. Just keep telling us that Jesus is God. All right, but no sail, fucker. Until you show me him walking on the water, fuck you and your woo, your bold statements that mean nothing, your unproven bullshit math, your fake formula, MGH. It's fake. It's a lie. It's nonsense. It doesn't tell the truth. As I just pointed out. Anyway, well, I have not seen any equations from you. I just gave you one. Didn't you just hear me say it? MGT. That equals the force, that equals your energy. Okay? So you just do mass, the gravitational constant, times how long you're in the gravitational constant. That's your energy. I just gave you a fucking formula, fuckhead. MV equals energy, it equals weight, it equals momentum, it equals heat, and it equals probably something else that I'm missing. Okay? It's all the same thing, force. It's all the same thing, fuckers. Sorry you're too stupid, but yeah, it's that simple. Anyway. Okay, speed, distance over time is religion, ? Yeah, that's exactly the truth, okay? Distance is irrelevant. It's about time. And again, you keep saying this word speed. And nobody says speed, okay? We all know it's a very precise thing, a vector of velocity. And that only thing that matters is it always carries momentum. There has to be a mass for it to have momentum. Oh, fuck. If I saw one single equation. What does that mean? If I saw one single equation. So again, I just pointed out 2 equations, right? Okay, E equals mv, F equals mv, heat equals mv, everything equals mv, okay? Mv is energy. Bingo. And mgh would be gravity. Gravity is mgt, okay, not mgh. It's just about how long you're in the force. The force acts at you on a constant amount of force, a constant amount of pressure, and you just add it up like a gas meter. Ding, 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 ding. It's just about how long you're pumping. That's it. Anyway. So how is this interesting? Light speed is 300,000 meters per second. Or 3 million something others. So who cares? What does that mean to anybody? You think NASA scientists will be saying that F equals heat? Yeah, I think NASA scientists know perfectly well that heat is momentum. That's what they have actually found out, that their satellites move if they don't put the radiators in the right position. So every time the radiator radiates heat, it's actually momentum. So, you lose again. Yes, MGT, MV, simple. Yep, that's all you need. Explain why satellite clocks move faster. Well, they move faster because the ones on Earth are moving slower because they're in heavier gravity. So as I have pointed out, gravity right now is pushing you into the Earth, and the Earth is pushing you back up. Well, what does that mean? You're doing this, right? And I could argue that you're doing this very, very fast. Okay. So like a basketball player, the basketball player moves across the court, but the ball goes very fast compared to the basketball player, much faster. So technically we're traveling a lot of distance in heavy gravity because we're oscillating in the gravity. So the distance that we actually travel is humongous, meaning that our theoretical velocity is insanely fast because we're traveling so much distance in the same amount of time. So we have the higher velocity. So even though the satellite's going 20,000 miles an hour and we're only going 1,000 miles an hour, we're jiggling very fast, where the satellite is jiggling very slow because it's in weak gravity. That's the explanation, fuckhead. Why is there not a single engineer saying or advocating this? So you're asking me why. Let me see, what can I compare it to? First off, I don't think too many of them have heard it. So they haven't really realized there is an alternative. They don't have to believe what Simon says. Okay, that the Borg could be wrong. Okay, so that's part of it. So I think once they start hearing these simple arguments, they'll say, fuck, why didn't I think of that? All right, because it's so obvious. The MGH versus MGT argument, right? Once you say to somebody, well, look, it only falls twice as long in the gravity, and it only weighs twice as much, and its velocity is only twice as high. So why would you think it has 4 times anything? I mean, I think the engineers would get that, frankly. Okay. Why aren't they saying this? Why does NASA page say F equals ma? Again, you can't use NASA as an argument because NASA isn't going to tell you that thrust is made out of anything other than momentum. I'll say again, okay, mv squared, 1/2 mv squared wasn't on the lunar module. The formula was not in the computer that landed on the moon because it serves no purpose, because it's not the truth. All NASA cares about is masses moving velocities. That's what thrust is, a mass moving a velocity. That's what energy is to NASA. Now, you want to say otherwise, go ahead, but NASA's already been quoted as saying, we only use Newton's mechanics. And what they're really just saying is, we don't bother with any of this other crap, because it really doesn't land you safely or accurately anywhere. It's of no value. You're saying that time dilation is because of weak gravity. Is that what I just said? No, I don't think that's what I said at all. What I'm telling you quite overtly is the difference in the clocks is a manifestation of both special and general relativity. That gravity is part of the equation of your velocity. Your velocity isn't, again, I'm not moving in a straight line across the surface of the Earth, okay? The Earth is going, say, 1,000 miles an hour. I'm moving 1,000 miles an hour that way, let's say. I'm not doing it in a straight line. I'm actually moving into the Earth. It's a fact. And the Earth is actually pushing me back. So you're not accounting for that at all? You don't think that's a real phenomenon? And so this clock on Earth is running slower. Why? Because it's traveling faster. And why does traveling faster slow down radioactive decay? Well, you could have lots of theories of why that takes place, but I could ask the question, well, lots of things break radioactive decay. All I have to do is crowd. All I have to do is put a radioactive isotope in a more radioactive environment and it decays faster. So it's really easy to change radioactive decay rates. All right. Let's see. Why does matter? It's been demonstrated. It's right there for you to see. Okay, what has been demonstrated? It does not matter what authority says. What matters is that if something has obvious, like people's conception of Newtonian mechanics is wrong, then someone using Newtonian mechanics would say, well, I don't know exactly if that's the way to say anything. The point is that you don't have experimental evidence for 90% of what they're arguing for. They don't show you any of this stuff. And you just believe it. They never even showed you that taking 4 times more fuel to go twice as fast. I'm just saying it's so elemental and you have no evidence. So you can keep saying no equations. You have no evidence. That's a lot worse. And again, I've already pointed out I have equations. F equals mv. That's an equation. Okay, E equals mgt. That's an equation. Double slit stuff and debunking, blah, blah, blah. I love to talk more, but this place has limited 200 characters. Whatever. Yeah, there's a comment section. You could always use that. Let's see, Robert. He gave the history of it. At one point, Leibniz came up with it, and that caught on. It didn't catch on. Leibniz was a complete failure. He also got accused of stealing Newton's calculus, which I think he actually did. I mean, I think the evidence is overwhelming that he did. But people are trying to rewrite that history now and say there's some reason to believe otherwise. I mean, it's clearly a fact that Newton did calculus in letters sent to people 15 years before Leibniz said, here, I've done it. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to argue that Newton didn't do it first. And then it's just a question of, well, do you think Leibniz would stoop to? And clearly, Leibniz stooped to it all the time. This is what Leibniz did for his career. He took what other people were talking about and he put it all together and made some kind of statement. So he did this shit all the time. But if you read his actual philosophy, it's insane. He's the kind of guy that invented the phrase, this is the best of all worlds. That God wouldn't create anything but a perfect world. He thought the plague was perfect. He's a fucking nut. Alright, anyway. S-type stars. Here we go. So that's just useless, sorry. I know I'm aware of what he did and did not say. Let's see, Milky Way. Would be the best way to prove and refute Einstein's special relativity. Wouldn't the best way to do it would be to redo the Eddington experiment and prove that gravity actually bends light? Why don't you get off the first base? With this crap. I mean, you're saying that these images they make, okay, of these time-lapse images somehow prove there's black holes and that these masses actually are what they say they are, when you don't have any evidence that they can actually still, even now, do that. And you really think that redshift is being created because space is expanding. Whatever. My initial talk was about whether or not the most fundamental equation is right or not. Clearly, if you want to know the force in units of time, that is, if you want to know 9.8 meters per second, then yes, you divide by time. But if you want to know the net force, as the equation is usually written, it's force net. If you want to know the net force, you don't divide by the time. Okay, if people use Newton's mechanics, didn't realize they didn't use F, then that makes no sense. It makes no sense to say Newton didn't know how to understand the motion of objects in space. He clearly did understand, and he understood it as momentum, not kinetic energy. So I don't know how Newton could have gotten so many right answers if he thought things moving through space had twice as much energy as they actually had. or a million times more energy in some cases. If the star's orbits take them extremely close to the supermassive black hole, then they accelerate up to 1/4 the speed of light. They should show signs of time dilation from the relativity perspective, whatever that is. So you really think matter can get up, heavy objects can get up to 1.4 the speed of light. Okay, well, fine. I don't even know what that means, 1.4%. So you just mean 1% of the speed of light. And you say that that's the way you can prove what? Well, no, I don't get it. All right, so I have to reread that again. I don't get it. 1.4 the speed of light isn't that fast. What do you think is going to happen to the matter? That it's going to excrete something? That's going to prove something? I don't think so. Why are the people who use Newton's mechanics don't correct the record and come out and say, hey, everybody, when you say F, you're wrong? I'm just saying the fact that all you people are dupes, that's whose fault is that? I'm just saying you have no physical evidence. So you can keep saying it's true, and I'll just keep pointing out that it isn't true. I drop it from 4 times the height. It only weighs twice as much. And we know that weight is what pushes springs down. That weight is the energy. The spring is collecting the energy. It's not losing the energy. It's collecting the energy. And that there's conservation of momentum. So you're already done having the argument. When you find out that 4 times the height only produces twice the weight, the game is kind of over. Because your explanation has to be that somehow half the weight disappeared. All right, anyway, people do astronomical clock now as well. Also was not talking about kinetic energy. So what's the point? But, I don't mix topics. Didn't you see this? How can there possibly be a coherent conversation? Well, what do you think? You think you should own the conversation? I'm saying, what piece of evidence can you link me to that demonstrates that it takes 4 times as much fuel to go twice as fast? Can you show me a single experimental experiment showing that it takes 4 times the energy to go twice as fast? Show me an 8-pound bowling ball going twice as fast as a 16-pound ball, knocking down twice as many pins. You'll never show it because it doesn't happen, because momentum is conserved. And you're a retard. Okay. Anyway. Okay, when you say F, blah, 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 you're wrong. Well, that's not useful. And who are you? Someone who makes claims with nothing to back yourself. Fine, whatever. DT and DT are equal. Or whatever that means. Oh, sorry. You're right, that was wrong. Okay, so whatever. They're just arguing with each other over nonsense. So he made a typo, and somehow that matters. We get the point. Okay, you're going to keep arguing that it's about how far you travel in gravity when it's clearly not about how far you travel. It's about how long you're in gravity. And the same is true with friction arguments. The faster you go across a surface, the less friction per foot. The less possible weight you can put on a surface. The faster I walk across a trap door, the more likely it is I'll get across without trapping the trap door. The slower I go, the more likely I am to fall in the trap door. Just facts. I'm obviously losing less energy to the trap door the faster I travel across it. Clearly, friction isn't linear. All right. Let's see, you're right, I was wrong. I concede rational arguments. I'm not dogmatic or appealing to authority, whatever. Robert, you're appealing to authority several times, whatever. Do you people see I'm not talking about KE? Well, I don't know. I am, so fuck you, okay? You can talk whatever you want on your videos. I'm talking about kinetic energy. For 2 years I've been talking about it. Well, you're using the formalization for kinetic energy. So I don't understand. Force is the argument about kinetic energy. Force is energy. I guess you don't understand that part. Okay, no, I haven't. You don't understand my argument. But in the sun, an example that, I don't know what that, the weak nuclear force. So again, you're really in big trouble when you start bringing up the weak and the strong force, because I can establish as an absolute fact that the strong force has nothing to do with a strong force. It has to do with sticking an electron between two protons. That's what it has to do with. It has to do with eliminating the need for a strong force, because you basically hide the other proton from the other proton by sticking an electron between them. The protons can't see each other. They can't be repelled by each other. It's that simple. All right, so whatever. You're just talking something that resembles appeal to authority, or whatever this, now these are really hyperbolic bullshit answers. You can email if you want to continue discussing. Let's see. Maybe I've missed your original point. Well, if you're willing to, chit chat with these people, that's your business. Anyway, I'm done. Right. I probably hit 3 hours. I did. That's pathetic. Okay, so enough. All right. Thank you for those who participated in all that bibble babble. Let's see what the details were here. That ain't gonna help me any. Where the hell is this window? Oh, there it is. Alright, so I have to go to the live window, wherever the fuck that is. It's missing. Must be here somewhere. This one says live on it. Let's see if that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So, 18. Yeah, well, I've done better than that before, so. But anyway, good enough. It was active enough, so that's fine. So maybe if I do these things, I'll do them at night. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I usually like making videos in the morning, but whatever. My life just ain't what it was. So anyway, so till the next time and such, I guess we'll just get the hell out of here. Probably should hit this button first, and then that one. I guess it doesn't really matter, but... Alright, so till the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot.